And we're back, and we are on to the elimination portion of our day here on Thursday. It's Thursday. Time's a flat circle. It all blends together. But elimination matches for the last couple of our games here on this fine Thursday during the Smite Pro League promotional tournament. All 10 teams are still in it. We'll be down to 8 after our final 2 best of 3s. And I've got some good news for you at home. You're already getting great value by sitting and enjoying this awesome competitive Smite. But if you have wanted a chance to win any skin in Smite, anyone ever, use !Temple right now for all the information. It'll pop up in chat. Follow that link to enter the giveaway. And if you win that giveaway, you can win any skin in Smite for the Temple of You giveaway. It's also worth it just to see that really cool video. So definitely love all that stuff. Make sure to use code !Temple. I'm sure it'll get spammed plenty of times. Follow that link, enter, and you can win any skin in the game. My name is Dolson. Guess who's with me? Same guy who's going to be with me for the rest of the day. TheRayShadow joins me. And Trelly, we are finally on. I say that like I've been looking forward to it. Our elimination matches. We've started with 10 teams, and we're going to whittle it down to 8 by the end of the day.
Well, if you want to get to the end, and actually see who's making it to the SPL, then you got to get a little excited about sending someone home. Unfortunately, we don't want to see you go, but at this point, we got to see who's going to be making it, and I think we got a pretty good matchup up here. That's
right. The Titans and the Valkyries, one that I think fans looking forward to. We got some fan favorite teams. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately because the 4 teams that we're going to be watching throughout the course of the rest of today, teams that are filled with fan favorite players. And we can look at overall what has happened so far. Shabalba, Storm, Calvin, Wardens. That's our only 3-game set so far here this week. All the other ones have been 2-0. So the stage is set for tomorrow with Wargs, Scorpions, Gladiators, Hounds. How about those matchups? And Trelly, our predictions kind of coming to fruition. We figured those would be the top 4 teams in the event, and those are the only 4 teams remaining on the upper side of the bracket. And so we will make our way down to the losers bracket for the remainder of today. That'll be Tartarus Titans, Valhalla Valkyries, and Athenian Sages and Chulainn Wardens. These are send-home matches, remember. So still a lot of action. The bracket will be filled out over the course of the next few days. Let's talk about this one a bit, though, Trelly, because it's 2 teams. I think that came in with something to prove. Of course, wanting to win. You're going to take your shot at qualifying into the SPL every single time.
Right.
But it seems, I think, that we're a bit disappointed in the way that their first games went. Tartarus Titans, I want to look at them first. A team that had some excitement, though, in their matchups. And think about the way that the games went for this Titans team. As a reminder, it's InMyZen, Dashboard, Nayhoo, Dame, delnyy, and Coach Tom. This is a team that loved playing through Zen early in the game. They were able to establish a good base level. And then come group time, come team fight time, things sort of fell apart. And so adjustments needed in that area, though the Titans did have some bright spots.
Yeah, I think this was the matchup where a lot of the build tweeting were first getting sparked. I think, a little bit questionable about how some of these build paths were going. Maybe need a little bit more tank damage, that sort of thing. But definitely some high points there for the Tartarus Titans. As you said, InMyZen, I think, had a great performance. Dame was consistently coming over here and setting up those sort of kills. It was a lot of, unkillable solo laners running through late game. That was the real highlight, or I guess the low light in this case. So I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans probably make some adjustments with that and try and play through dual lane as they have been doing. I think Dame and Zen and Dashboard as well all should be able to make a pretty quick bounce back. I don't think they're hanging their heads on that loss too much.
No, Dame got to spearhead this approach for the Tartarus Titans, especially with what we've seen from our first couple of matches today. The remaining 4 teams in the upper bracket all have had some really standout jungler performances throughout the day. And Dame absolutely capable of that. I actually don't think Dame's God Pool strays that far from what we've seen from those upper bracket team junglers so far. And so being able to lean on that, a great advantage to this Tartarus Titans team, who I think will favor themselves in a matchup like this because of the way that they play. Here to have some fun, but also here to make some upsets and try their hand at moving through this lower bracket, because you're going to have to go on a run, starting with a game up against the Valhalla Valkyries. This is a fan favorite team, headlined by Warchi, Rottwen, TheRayShadow, WorstTurttle, NILLLL, and Sir Choka, the head coach. Now, Trelly, it's hard to, I think, iron out exactly what went wrong for the Valhalla Valkyries. They were a bit eclectic in some of their pick ban priority in the first match we saw for them here this weekend. And so I think reassessing some of their draft strategy could be a fine place to start.
Yeah, I think, you know, we talked about it earlier on, at least I have on the desk, about I think the meta of this tournament will start to shake up as the tournament continues. Game number 1, some teams tried, you know, they tried some things. I do not think the Valhalla Valkyries found much success in the things they were trying. I would love to see Warchi on whether it's a magical ADC or a traditional hunter. I didn't see too much value out of the assassins in duo lane. You know, Mando played it to some effect, but you know, we just saw Mando in last set. The assassin ADCs once again were not so strong, so I think ranged damage is still extremely prominent in some of these team fights, so I would like to see that change up. But there is value in sticking to what you practice. So if the Valks literally threw out hunters and only put Warchi on assassins for all of their scrims, then we may just be getting the full-on run back, and we'll have to see if they can make it work.
Yeah, we need to see a big set from player that's second to top of the screen, Rottwen, who had a big 4-man taunt yesterday. It was one of the highlights of the day. Such a talented support player, and still had the moments even in what was a very difficult set for the Valhalla Valkyries. And so I think if that initiation is there, that gives the Valks a really nice opening throughout the rest of this set. I think the tournament meta that's starting to unfold will be interesting throughout the remainder of this set, because it's two teams that have clearly done some homework on one another going into this set. And it's, do we have answers to Warchi if he's going to try the assassins, the Najas, the Kamazats, things like that. On the flip side, do we have answers for the aggressive junglers that we know Dame is going to be playing. So there's some identities that could be capitalized on one way or another, and we'll see how they are in picks and bans for game number 1. Maui off the board first to make some sense. Rottwen, just talked about him. Incredibly talented support. And Maui, one of the best in the game at the moment. He's just going to take all 3 bans here. Maui, Yamoja, followed by magical AD carries on the other side. Titans worried about Rottwen, and for now, the Valhalla Valkyries, they were a bit worried about InMyZen. Cannot blame either team for their ban placement.
I think both teams pretty good so far, and I love that Thor ban as well. I was going to say, got to put some respect towards Dame, and it looks like this is sort of what we've been talking about. The meta of the tournament, seen a lot of Vamana solo, and Vamana solo, well, I guess it could be Vamana jungle. We'll hold on to the ambiguity of the pick, but more often than not, Vamana solo is going to be the first grab there for the Titans. Immediately met with the Chulainn Tiamat on the opposite side. I love the Chulainn. I think it's got a good matchup into the Vamana, so don't hate the insta-lock there. And you still have that extra anti-heal if you really need it when still dealing with the rest of the Titans draft. So good answer back there from the Valks. This Tiamat has been consistently looked at in the top 3 for pretty much all these teams.
Now, 2 different storylines between Vamana and Chulainn as far as the games have gone today. Vamana, just in our last set,
Blades of light.
did not feel all that comfortable against the Hades. That's a scary D special, and won't have to deal with that in this game, luckily, against Chulainn. But think about what we saw Aquarius do at the beginning of the day on the Chulainn. Simply ran down opponents. Once that mitigation build came fully online, felt like there was not much damage rolling through. But composition that is good at dealing some shred damage. That's a Merlin. That's an Ishtar Trelly. 2 picks that over the course of the weekend seem to be top in their class at the moment. You know, obviously some picks in the same tier as one another. But Ishtar's been right up there with physical AD carries. Merlin has been near the top of the pick charts for mages in mid.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Merlin at the moment. Pretty much any mage that can spam multiple cooldowns and proc, you know, your soul gems, your soul reavers, your tablets, are going to be pretty strong at the moment. And it seems like Tiamat and Merlin definitely at the forefront of that conversation. Agni, another one that's been pretty highly prioritized. But, you know, another thing that's been pretty highly prioritized is healing in general. A lot of healers being picked in this tournament. The Sylvanus prioritized pretty heavily here for the Valks, trying to get it in before that next wave of bans, before the Titans could throw 5 bans towards Guardians this time around. So probably smart. They're going to be able to make sure that one goes through. But that also means that you're also banning out Dashboard in that case, because they have not grabbed their support. The Bacchus, the Ymir, the Vanus, all taken away.
Yeah,
so
where do we go here?
Gonna have to dive pretty deep into the God pool. However, there are still some top tier supports that we've seen so far. I think the Cabrakan is a decent matchup if you're trying to wall off the Sylvanus.
Seen some Terra.
Yeah, Terra still brings that healing. There's you know,
There's options.
there are options, and that's what's important.
Yeah, Divine Ruin could be good here for Nayhoo out of mid. Merlin, great applicator. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Applicator, Divine Ruin. Helps out with
He
Sylvanus.
applies.
He do be applying. Agni locked in for the Valhalla Valkyries, and so a mid lane battle. Maybe a mid lane battle.
A battle over who gets to play mid lane.
Yeah, who gets to play mid.
Yeah.
Now this goes back to a conversation we had when we were sort of breaking down both teams, Trelly, and it's that the Valks in their first set of the weekend had a more eclectic grasp of the meta. Eclectic to us, at least. It's less standard than what we saw in Season 9.
Well, it didn't work, so we can say that. If it worked, we would have
Sure.
been like, oh man, they're pioneers. So because it did, we can say
That's right.
that.
They used to ride these comps for miles. Now it's Agni and Tiamat. Where's some alternative value? I mean, we've seen Mage in duo, right? In the past, we've seen Mage in the duo lane.
Yep.
I suppose we've seen Mage jungle. It's not going to be solo, and it's not going to be support.
I assume it's Agni ADC, and
Right.
with that in mind, the value is not there. I don't think you're getting immense value out of Agni over, for example, like if you want a different like Chronos, Chronos is still available. That could have definitely been a mid laner, or I mean an ADC that could have been better in that slot. But it seems to me that the Valks do not value the auto attacks, so we'll have to see what the last pick is. If they do get ahead and try and siege a Phoenix or a Fire Giant, I'm not seeing how they kill it right now.
You're not in on the ring build, Agni?
I'm not locked in yet. They're gonna need some more damage. So let's see. Last pick, I'm gonna need some more burn, and there it is. The Mercury will bring some crits towards the Fire Giant. It's gonna be rough to try and actually kill a Phoenix, but hey, they'll cross that bridge when they get there, and Tiamat brings lizards.
That's right. They're trying new things. Or the Valhalla Valkyries. Remember, this is an elimination game. It's a best of 3. Not an elimination game, elimination set. Best of 3 at the end of it. One of these teams going home, the other moving on in the lower bracket of the Smite Pro League promotional tournament. I don't think it's far-fetched to say, Trelly, the Titans have a bit more of a standard composition from how we have seen teams draft over the course of the weekend.
I'll give you that one.
Where the Valks have a more standard composition for the way we've seen the Valks draft
Yeah.
over the course of the weekend so far. What's the win condition here for this Valkyries team? It's obviously a bit different. Are you stacking up tablets, hoping to shred through some of the potential mitigations, shred through some of that health? Is that where there's value? What point of the game do you need to reach?
I would hope that we do see stacking up some of that, just proc items for sure.
Right.
But it still gets so difficult. If the Valks do get ahead, they're not pulling Fire Giant first more often than not. They're gonna
No.
bait in a fight and try and fight. They just want to brawl. Objective play is not where this Valks comp succeeds. It's in team fights. They want to try and group up and hit these big AoE abilities and hopefully just hit a 5v5 wipe and try and just push up lanes that way. So they're going to need to get ahead early. If the Valks do get behind, it's hard to climb back with a composition like this.
What are some parts of the map, then, that you're worried about the Valkyries falling behind? You've got an Agni in duo, which is different, but is it a threat for ganks from Dame, from this Tartarus Titans team?
I am assuming it's Agni in duo.
Sure, right.
And
It's
that-
a mage in duo lane.
Yeah, it's either Tiamat or Agni. I would prefer Agni just because his clear is a little bit better early on.
Right.
You could just dash through the purple and the green, and that'll help you out. And yeah, you're going to have to watch out for the ganks, no doubt. But you also clear the way pretty safely once you get level 5. And after that, you can just sit underneath tower. You're not going to be too pressured out in that regard. It's just auto attack trades. You're not trading with an Ishtar. She's got pretty ranged autos as is, so I don't think they're going to care too much about that one. Zen's been looking real clean on the Ishtar, so I'm thinking you don't put too much pressure over towards duo lane. You probably just leave Warchi alone and say, hey, you're going to be farming.
Well, look, we saw Vamana in our previous set. It was up against the Hades, got shoved back constantly, and didn't really have much of a leg to stand on. Could be a side of the map, Trelly, where junglers choose to put some pressure. Is there any excitement in your mind in Vamana Vico calling in lane?
The lane matchup, not at all. But
fair enough.
once the junglers get involved, maybe.
Maybe we'll see what the junglers can get done. Elimination match, first of the weekend, and it's the Tartarus Titans up against the Valhalla Valkyries with Gormizer in Mifflin.
A lot of fan favorites in this matchup. A lot of players, Mifflin, that have been around for a while, have had pretty historied careers, at least at the minor league level here in Smite. And a lot of pressure, I think, to perform. It's actually wild to me to think that one of these two teams, of all of them, are going to be one of the first eliminated of the entire tournament.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at some of these rosters, man, I mean, any EU SEC team all of a sudden just after Worlds has just got infinitely more oh man, what momentum behind them, expectations. It just the EU SEC's tear through the Smite World Championships has really upped me on the entire region. So it's crazy to think that an entirely European team now finds themselves in the losers bracket already. This is one of some of the premier North American SEC players from Season 9 on the side of the Tartarus Titans as well. The unfortunate truth of all forms of competition, though, is that someone has to lose, and a loss here will send you home, both these teams vying to keep their tournament lives alive. That said, I have strong feelings about this Valhalla Valkyries draft. I feel some kind of way. We've seen metas in the past where double magical or even synced carry damage exists, where it's double physical, a double hunter in long lane and the duo lane, or a mage in long lane and the duo lane. And generally when that's the case, there are a couple of answers to make sure that your opposition can't just stack magic defense and your structure damage is still good. One answer is one of the mages needs to be a Polynomicon user, so you actually can deal with these structures from a range, and your siege doesn't become awful. Neither one of TheRayShadow or Warchi can really utilize Polynomicon. So as far as actually sieging a Phoenix, that's going to be very difficult in the late game, I think. But they do have the silver lining of having a hyper carry out of the jungle. With this Mercury, WorstTurttle should have at least a little bit of space to do nearly true damage in the late game. If it's a hunter and a Mercury, then you're thinking, okay, they're stacking physical defense, we're talking about spectral armors, this, that, or the other. If the Tartarus Titans want to itemize a deal with WorstTurtle's late game hyper carry potential, all of a sudden Warchi and TheRayShadow are just outpouring damage in the team fight because they haven't itemized a deal with the double magical carry. And if they say, okay, well, it's double magical, we need to go that way, that's WorstTurtle's situation to thrive. So there are situations and I suppose win conditions here for this style of composition. But I tend to agree with Trelly. Fall behind with a draft like this, and you just lose the pressure on map. And the Tartarus Titans, their draft has pressure on map. Ishtar, one of the killingest hunters in the game. Sobek, very good at displacing these less mobile targets. Nayhoo, amazing on this Merlin at just shredding down objectives. And Susano in Season X is just different.
It feels like we are in not uncharted territory. Warchi yesterday was also refusing to play hunters, but was playing the assassins. And while it didn't work for the Valkyries then, you go look at someone like Mando Warrior, where all of a sudden that's how they quite literally turned around their game. And so this is something that is either, as you said, going to be one of the more interesting games that we get to see because the Valkyries may be finding success, or it's going to end up being very... I don't want to use the term bland because it has a very negative connotation to it. Maybe straightforward is the way to say it. There's the pull back. Luckily, while he's less mobile, still somewhat mobile, Warchi can dash away. But it is not a really invigorating feeling, I think, to get plucked that early on, to have this amount of pressure while you're trying to level up as the Agni.
Yeah, you are at least leaning on the sustain that Rottwen brings to this lane. Sylvanus should keep Warchi topped off. Meditation still available as well. So survivable certainly still is Warchi, but I mean the Ishtar matchup in Agni just can't be fun once you're left alone on an island. I know that Charlie said, look, you can play safe, hang back, use Rainfire to clear wave, and that's all true. If InMyZen decides to start zoning at archers, all of a sudden Zen's ultimate with Ishtar having that cripple on it means that Warchi is going to take nearly infinite poke and won't have the sustain from Rottwen to lean on. That's generally that's like we're looking 2 or 3 minutes out, or even further, considering that last set felt like supports were hovering the duo lane to level 9, 10, don't really like to get involved in the mid. Could be that that's the strategy here for the Valhalla Valkyries. If Rottwen sticks around, I think it almost enforces that Dashboard has to do the same. And then you have to have a conversation about the 2v2 in mid. Nayhoo and Dame up against TheRayShadow and WorstTurttle. I mean, Merlin not exactly known for his early game damage, but can certainly start to stack it up quickly if he elects to go down that tablet tree, pick up some of that true damage, those proc effects. Dame, early game's there. Susano has very strong early game. But WorstTurttle, it's going to take him a little while.
Yeah, looking for the in-lane gank here. Goes for the ult, not going to connect.
Yikes!
Misses the special delivery. Doesn't even matter. delnyy goes up into the ult. And that is going to be all she wrote. 2 ults used. And maybe one of them having a little more effect. delnyy with some staying power. WorstTurttle losing a huge part of the arsenal.
Yeah, that is one incredibly unfortunate that we got the third-person view of that and just got to watch some true whiffs on the battleground here.
Yeah, I
but
saw Vamana go flying by to the right and then a wall.
Yeah, I mean, it happens so fast, and it really is a situation that happens often, but
Oh, Dame.
losing these resources, tough.
Look,
should
I mean,
be okay.
Yeah, this is just straightforward, right? You come in,
I was
you
wrong.
walk up, do it maybe a little cleaner than WorstTurttle was able to. delnyy might have overstepped. No,
He's fast.
WorstTurttle going to be just a little short, like you said. Speed there for delnyy. And if not, Dame's cooldowns maybe coming back up. WorstTurtle could have been worse for wear. So not only do they miss out on first blood for the Valkyries, goes the other way. And the Titans now find themselves up 1-0.
I'm surprised WorstTurtle doesn't try and stick his ground there and actually chase out that kill. One more auto attack's all you need. And he had popped Wing Shard, additional movement speed, additional attack speed.
Yeah.
You'd think you have the chase down there. What I suppose just a little bit too threatening from Dame to want to stick around. And WorstTurtle comes up empty-handed once more. That is the absolute worst case scenario for the Valhalla Valkyries. Initiate your gank on right, it goes south, Dame rotates through because you've put pressure on the lane, and his gank just works out for him. I don't want to see WorstTurtle rotate in towards delnyy again, unless delny's ultimate is already down. That's a hard ask. Chulainn trying to shut down the Vamana and force out that ultimate defensively can happen, but does not often. But if delny's got it, I just don't see a world where WorstTurtle pre-crit can actually threaten this Vamana.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a lot more. Unfortunately for WorstTurtle farm, that has to grow and get to that point. Dashboard being a little bit of a nuisance. Does not quite steal away the purple buff. And you had mentioned it, but trying to match or at least follow rotations of the Sylvanus. Rottwen has left the Agni alone. And it actually seems like Dashboard's going to be lurking around. At least over on the left-hand side. I thought he was going to go for a pluck, try to get something going, but Warchi not under pressure just yet. And that kind of feels like where a lot of the story of the Valkyries is right now, where it's just like, okay, this pick could do well, but not under pressure yet. And unfortunately, that's a second gank that's not going to work out here, where WorstTurtle comes back over to right. delnyy just knocks him into the air and says, okay, cool, I'm under my tower again. What's up?
I mean, the only way that works is if WorstTurtle connects Sonic Boom, and it's the perfect range Sonic Boom where you get to auto-cancel it immediately afterward, then channel the dash, and hope NILLL's got his ultimate too. The situations that WorstTurtle is putting Soul Lane in are almost no-win condition. Like, it is such narrow odds. Showing up there with NILLL without having ultimate, best case scenario for WorstTurtle is he forces delny's ult, and he gets it. But I just gotta think that his time would be better suited elsewhere. Mercury's got a pretty decent gank into Ishtar.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's playing on tower line and has been for the last 7 or so minutes. His time has got to be better used elsewhere.
Well, now you need to be careful about it. Dame chased him down a little bit. Forced WorstTurtle to play safe, but there's 3 Valkyries here, 2 Titans. So they're not going to press their luck. That's going to be a backup from Dame. But Dame has his ult again. Still a little while there before Nayhoo gets it. I'm keeping my eyes. I mean, every time I look up at the minimap right now, it is between the junglers. Might see something from Dame over on right. No buffs available. NILLL playing a little aggressively. Dame seems to have the line. Goes forward. Does not quite get the pull. Looking for the damage. Doesn't feel confident in this one. Doesn't drop the ult. Just backs away.
But even then, it feels so much more confident, Dame that is, in his ability to actually shut down NILLL. If the pull connects, if NILLL's a little bit slower on his ultimate, or if Dame waits it out, that's it. Chulainn's dead, and it's so much more simple for him. Whereas WorstTurtle needs to work much, much harder to hit pay dirt in that lane, especially at this phase of the game. Fortunately for WorstTurtle, has backed up a bit, spent some time farming the jungle, and has actually established a slight lead, experience-wise, over Dame. I think it's gold, though, that you got to be concerned about. Looking at net worth, still slightly below, or if dead even, with Dame on the other side. One of these 2 gods much more reliant on their itemization, and it's Mercury. It's, do I have crit? If yes, I feel really good in the fight if I'm lucky. Or if it's late game, it's not even luck because you're up to 60, 70, 80% crit. For Dame, it's, yeah, I got Jotun's Hydras. I'm online.
And unfortunately, right now, he's got one of those 2, and he's almost to the 3rd. Maybe a little trouble for Rottwen in the jungle. There's a pluck from Dashboard immediately into the Merlin damage. There's going to be the ult from the Ishtar as well. The stun is good, and the damage is there. A clean kill in the jungle, and the Titans put another one up.
Dashboard getting aggressive on a Rottwen continually this game, and that is an issue Sylvanus has had since he has come out. Displace him, put him out of position. Sylvanus doesn't have great ways to peel for himself, especially against these range carries. tries to use the ultimate reactively, buy some space, get Nayhoo, get InMyZen off of him. They're playing max range, my friend. They're not going to barrel stuff you. All you find is a knock-up on a dashboard, and that's just not enough to get you out of a situation like that. But take a peek at the itemization. Rottwen seems to have taken some notes. PBM, been raising a stink on Twitter, has forced out the prophetic.
Yeah, finally gets the ult that you have been looking for from WorstTurttle. Maybe not picture perfect, but something that gets the job done. Forces an ult from delnyy over in right. Unfortunately, even with the ult connecting this time, the Valkyries unable to find a kill, unable to put themselves on the board. It's only been about 1,000 gold separating them. But you have to imagine, you had mentioned it, pretty much dead even. Now Hydra's Lament finished for Dame. And Mifflin, based on what you had just said, I'm starting to think we might see a lot more Susano here in the next few minutes.
He's just got massive power spike. The Hydra's passive with the auto cancels that Susano have got, just incredibly strong. We've hit level 10s. The flat pen you get from being an assassin starting to stack up as well. Tartarus Titans, they're powerful. This is an opportunity though. delnyy, finally with his ultimate down. If you want to fight him, it's got to be now.
Well, they're going for it. delnyy so far has just been running. And despite the small stature of Vamana, he makes it out of there no problem. Fastest got alive, laughing in Mercury's face right now. Meanwhile, the Titans see the gank. They go for more. They grab the Gold Fury easily. No contention there. And WorstTurttle did the only thing he could. The Vamana gets away. What's he looking for? Any jungle buff, any invade. And unfortunately, every single one of them was down. That blue buff respawns as he's retreating from the Titan side of the jungle. So not only do they not get the gank, Mifflin, they don't get the invades, and on top of that, they're unable to close out and get that Fury.
Don't force delnyy back to base. delny's got his ultimate back now. We're starting to reach the point where he's going to build up like a Berserker shield, so delny's not even worried about the ganks going forward. It's just a massive 11-minute time investment from WorstTurttle to try to put NILLL into a winning position, and I just don't think it's worth it. This continuous refusal to play elsewhere on the map has allowed the Tartarus Titans to free cast in the duo lane. Nayhoo, I forgot what god he was playing because we've had no reason to spectate mid. We haven't even had any action on that side of the map, so he's just been free farming about a half level to a level lead. Zen's Omega chilling, man. I swear. I could design a bot to do what he's doing, you know, because he hasn't had any pressure put on him. Whereas Dame has had his stamp on every single lane so far. Rotation towards duo. He's hovering duo or solo now, just trying to make sure that WorstTurttle, who has been here the entire game, isn't able to get another gank off. It is wild that the Valhalla Valkyries have put so much emphasis on this side of the map.
Dame, I thought was going to back off. Might be looking for more. Forces a dash out of WorstTurttle. He uses his own little teleport to try and close gap. Dashboard's been looking for something. This is maybe a bit of a rarity. Warchi actually standing up on the tower line of Zen this time around, but you had mentioned this could be very problematic for an Agni. Zen doesn't seem to have the space closer to be able to put that into a full punish zone. But Warchi definitely maybe having to play a little more careful here. Nayhoo, dashboard, controlling mid. I mean, Mifflin, it has been a very succinct game so far for the Titans, right? 2 kills plus the objective, it's 2,000 gold. And it hasn't been insanely flashy plays that they've made it happen. It's just playing Smite. And unfortunately for the Valkyries, catching them off guard. Now they might be looking for something a little more. RayShadow in trouble. Knock up good by dashboard. Pluck. Follow up.
Wow.
Even more solid. Pulls into the damage. And that's going to be the knock up, the kill. And 1 more for Dame. Put 2 on the board for his team. 3 total. They might be able to find more if the Valkyries stick around in a poor engagement.
Man, looked like pinball there the way he was bouncing him around. Now Dame rotates through towards Warchi, slipstream off the mark, but 4v2, you love your odds.
Yeah, you just walk into this one. Good stun, good knock-up, 3-man coming from Rottwen, but it's not enough to save their lives. The duo lane from the Valkyries go down, and WorstTurttle just has to watch it happen.
That can't have caught them off guard. The Tartarus Titans were 4-stacked in your tier 2, and then they folded back towards your own tier 1, right? WorstTurttle was there. He cleared back camps while RayShadow was dying, and then try to rotate back towards mid. If the Merc is around for that engagement, Dame doesn't have ultimate, dashboard as well, still waiting on his ultimate, you gotta think there's some turnaround potential because there were hero plays from Rottwen and Warchi, the 3-man knock-up, nice stun onto 2, bombs are connecting. Just a little bit more is all it would have taken, but WorstTurttle takes the pacifist run, goes over towards the center of the map. it is not often where you can just quote slash lines for impact on map. 202 for Dame, triple goose egg out of the jungle. In Season 10, I don't think you could do that.
Yeah, WorstTurttle as well. I mean, you know, after starting the Rage as well, you had mentioned the crit. Like, at this point in the game, this is the lucky portion you had mentioned earlier.
30%.
But also, you need to get some stacks on Rage somehow. And so far, this has not been the run. We have seen it. In fact, one of the more infamous games that flashes to my mind in the Pro League last year, I think Panatom was playing the Mercury. Started off really well, finished the Rage, got one stack, and that was it for the rest of the game. Maybe we'll see what they can do. Lurking in the waters from Dashboard around the Pyromancer. It's half health, but leashed. Dashboard pops back out. Valkyries use that as the opportunity to re-aggress. Pyro is not something they're willing to commit to. And I mean, there's not much going on. They have maybe some players around there, but Dashboard's the only one who's ready. He's going to go back in. Pyromancer's low. Woo! Valkyries are able to get that one. They should, well, maybe not be able to pick up the bomb, so they're just going to get the gold, just the experience. And Runic Bomb will stay seated as they have to back off, and instead it's a trade for a Primal Fury.
That was a coin toss through and through. If Dame's just a little bit quicker on the ultimate, looks like he had really good odds on the steal there. Dashboard keeps vision on the Pyromancer, buys so much time. The Valhalla Valkyries were waiting to see where InMyZen was on the map. Shows himself on the wave on left, and that's when they make the commitment call to the Pyromancer. Fortunately, are able to grab it for themselves, but because it had taken so long, Gold Fury respawns, Tartarus Titans sent over Nayhoo, and the burn is there. Even without even itemizing towards it, Zen has not gone down the crit tree whatsoever. Instead, has eyes for Tank Shred, Kin Size, Executioner, and Aussie. Doesn't matter, though, when Merlin's making up the bulk of your burst and burn around these objectives. The Tartarus Titans, they're just playing the map better right now.
Well, delnyy, I want to say might be in trouble. Has his ult, that's CC immunity and a lot of healing, or just health, I guess, at this point. He's going to have. Dashboard is back up. Nothing big going to happen on the right-hand side of the map. Plus, it might be on cooldown for another 80 seconds, but the Blighted Ankh pickup just now from Dashboard when he backed feels like that's going to be even more helpful in these already one-sided team fights, and we're just a few hundred gold shy of a 5,000 gold lead here for the Titans. A very, very comfortable first 16 minutes. And
look at the experience gaps as well. The portions of the map where the Valhalla Valkyries haven't played, mid and duo, have got massive leads. 2 levels for Nayhoo, 3 for InMyZen over in the duo lane. The Valkyries, they've done a good job. That 5-man group around the Pyromancer, I love the idea. Stem the bleeding, create a focal point on the map that the Tartarus Titans have to respond to. But it was the trepidatious play that buys time in the Tartarus Titans. A slow question is not one that's going to catch them off guard, and they have the perfect answer in moving towards the Gold Fury. But you could start to see the ideology of the Valhalla Valkyries changing, even in that small positioning on the right-hand side. Just previously, a minute ago, we saw WorstTurttle, Rottwen, and TheRayShadow 3-stack on the Tartarus Titans side of the map, just trying to catch someone clearing a camp, catch someone rotating for backs or going for a blue. Unfortunately, the someone they catch is delnyy, and delnyy is now a 6-stack prophetic Berserker Shield Vamana, who's almost unkillable just by nature of being Vamana.
And so far, we've seen that come into play, what, 4 or 5 times so far this game? Almost every gank on solo, at least against delnyy, has worked out in their favor. Against NILLL, the knockup's still going to be good. The damage is there. All they need is one more hit. delnyy is going to make sure they put him down. Takes a while. They still get the kill on the Chulainn.
Good Aegis.
Is going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Wow.
Beautiful Aegis. Gets so much value out of that. Now still has a lot to work with. There's so much commitment over here.
He's
and WorstTurttle is losing it. He's barely able to make it out, but Nayhoo rotates in. Nayhoo picks up 2, and he's going to try to chase down the 3rd. TheRayShadow is on his way, so it's going to quickly turn into a 1v2. You got to play that carefully as the Merlin backs away. delnyy takes his place. But you got to think Zen buys so much time, does so well to keep his team in that, and with a beautiful rotation from Nayhoo, they make it worthwhile.
Could even potentially find some more.
No
Nayhoo
way.
Hovering nearby. That's Aegis, that's Beads, and that's another massive win for the Tartarus Titans on the left side of the map. I mean, InMyZen just clowned the Valhalla Valkyries on his own. The dash to avoid the burst damage from WorstTurttle, the Aegis to avoid the double bomb from Warchi. The juke you don't even get connected with on Sonic Boom. Zen plays that as close to perfect as I can imagine. I'm trying to think of a better situation, and I can't come up with one. He may have not survived as long as NILLL, but he put up so much damage, and his team was so willing to rotate that it comes even better for the Tartarus Titans. Map play, positioning, they're just in range to punish the Valkyries, whereas that, what was it, 20-second dive on the right-hand side of the map where NILLL is just scraping and clawing for every second he can buy for his team. Nothing comes of it for him. It just goes to show. Tartarus Titans, they're playing together as a unit.
Plus now they get the Pyromancer. Dashboard goes back to pick up the bomb this time around. It is a huge deal in my mind, specifically because we saw what, Ducky was able to do, or Aquarius, sorry, was able to do on the Chulainn earlier today, right? A lot of pressure. And unfortunately for the Valkyries, that pressure has just not been found anywhere on the map for them. Survivability is there for a few of them. Warchi, not one of them, taken down by Dame in a quick fashion. Get the Pyro with very little contest. Now go over to an Oni Fury after getting a kill on the main carry in the dual lane. And I don't know about you, Mifflin. I look up, there's a lot of lacking of red in the area. So it's another free Fury. Titans up 9-1. They're starting to push 7,000, 7,500 gold.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Deathbringer now for Mercury, so if we see the Tartarus Titans continue to put pressure on duo, there is the answer of, okay, we'll just burn Fire Giant. Leave it up to a coin toss. Doesn't matter. I think Hail Mary's now probably on the mind of the Valhalla Valkyries. So you've got that to lean back on. Probably want to stack some penetration before you look towards the team fight proper. Likely a serrated edge for WorstTurttle in this next slot. 20% would go a long way, as well as the lifesteal and movement speed to keep you involved in these fights. But only having the one stack on Rage doesn't exactly put you in an ideal situation. And the Fire Giant Hail Mary's going out the window with the Tartarus Titans started up.
Making sure to keep this engagement first in their favor. Nayhoo has a lot of burn. delny's going to be leading the way. Dashboard going for his own. Gets a pluck onto Rottwen. Rottwen's getting burned down fast. Rottwen's just gone. And delnyy has made his way into the back line immediately onto TheRayShadow. The other four not following up with the Vamana. Might not need to with the damage output that delnyy has right now. Body block keeps delnyy away. The CC keeps delnyy away. But Dame just chases it down. Is a little deep now on his own. delnyy has left him alone. There's not much you can do there. Good autos and a good kill. Finally goes the way of WorstTurttle. Unfortunately, it's cost him a little bit more. Not just their mid laner, not just their support, but the Fire Giant, 21.5 in.
I got a shout-out Dashboard. It's a change to Sobek that I believe is still in the game. When he lands the pluck, has a brief moment of CC immunity.
Yeah.
We don't see that interaction very often. He used it to immune the knockup from Rottwen and then timed it so perfectly that the pull comes through after the Sylvanus ultimate, completely displacing him and changing up the entirety of that team fight. That's clean. I mean, you can't teach that stuff. That just lines up. The stars are there. I mean, Mercury's in retrograde, and Dashboard is thriving off of it. And now it's the Tartarus Titans with Fire Giant on 4 and a decent siege composition that can just start working their way through these Tier 2 towers. I'm keeping my eyes on Nayhoo. Merlin, as always, on base defense and base siege, one of the most important pieces of your composition. Has so much AoE damage, controls so much space. Both relics still available, undying so far this game. Would be surprised if much changes. The Valhalla Valkyries, they have to find the answers, and I think that answer lies with WorstTurttle, who has spent a whole lot of time farming on map, now has serrated 2 stacks on Rage. Deathbringer finished up. He's got to get that and apply that damage to some of these priority targets. InMyZen, awesome. Now you can't really go for the Phoenix anymore. Get Nayhoo, the team fight starts to look a lot better, but it's all easier said than done.
Well, especially if you're putting the mantle on WorstTurttle. He's over in right now. Pushes a wave into the Tier 2. That's going to be the go button on the left side. Phoenix for the Titans, getting aggressive. NILLLL seems to be the target. Zen looks for a lot. Finds this one on Warchi. Doesn't have the follow-up. Aegis, good by the Agni. Keeps him alive. Gets him to the back. He's able to go to the fountain. Heal back up. They're whittling away at the Phoenix once more. A lot of good shots coming out from Zen. Zen's trying to focus it down. Great ult by Rottwen, but a better pluck from the other side. Luckily, NILLLL is just straight up tanky and is able to survive. And there's WorstTurttle finally making the difference. Comes in, gets the ult, grabs Zen, and shuts this one down.
Dashboard now on the chopping block. A little bit more damage. Consume, not enough. Dame on the rotation in. It's an overextension, and Nayhoo puts him down. 5 for the mid laner, the Tartarus Titans. But with only 4 still standing and Fire Giant on 3, I think your Phoenix dreams probably die here. Tier 2 and mid, that's an easy pickup. Fall back towards the Gold Fury. Line your coffers even further. This Fire Giant power play still has a minute and a half on it. Tartarus Titans might have more to say.
Least able to pick up, you had highlighted them, the neutral objectives that spawn in. Honestly, with the Pyromancer focus, if they had caught this off, whether it was wards or whatever, this would have been a great time for the Valkyries to maybe try and aggress on the Gold Fury themselves. Instead, it's WorstTurttle getting chased down. A lot of good damage from Nayhoo, of all people. Against the Mercury, slows him down. Doesn't quite get the kill. Might be a TKO. We'll have to watch WorstTurttle, as the ult's going to be coming up soon. Gold Fury tentatively started. It's just the Merlin damage right now as Dashboard runs in circles.
Playing on a ward.
And they know what's happening. Rottwen, Warchi, they're doing the purple buff. I don't think they have much to worry about here.
Yeah, no way the Valhalla Valkyries step up here. Not with delnyy acting as an iron wall between them and the neutral objective. So the Tartarus Titans take once more the Gold Fury on the left-hand side. Don't really have much more time on this Fire Giant power play. Don't imagine we see them group up and push much further. Instead, collect as much gold as you can on the map, grab your buffs, head back to base, collect vision, and set up for Fire Giant, which should be spawning in about a minute from now. Otherwise, the Valhalla Valkyries, I don't think, can give this one up. It's not an ideal situation. You don't want to be forced to fight in neutral territory right now, considering the deficit that they're playing into. But if Fire Giant goes over to the Tartarus Titans, their siege is strong. I'm not so certain I love the base defense from the Valks, even with that clean play from WorstTurttle to shut down Zen on the left-hand side. That was in a 5 versus 4. Dame was playing on his own in the center of the map, trying to push down a tier 2. So once they're actually 5-stack, the Tartarus Titans that is, I just don't imagine the base defense goes well.
Speaking of 5-stack, a lot of presence from the Valkyries. Over on the left, looking for the tier 2. Should be able to find it no problem. They trade out the Fire Giant for their troubles. I don't think we could see a Phoenix push here, but we definitely are going to see 1,500 gold go into their pockets. Trying to make a divot in the lead the Titans have made. Mifflin, I looked down just to check the slash lines. 5-1-4 and 5-0-3 seem really good when you've got 2 players popping off at that level. You get just the back and reset a push back from delnyy, who has the teleport available and can come into the fight maybe whenever necessary. Tier 2 on right for the Valkyries will be gone. That's all of their towers that have disappeared. So you had mentioned it. Now we're starting to talk Phoenix Sieges. Merlin, a benefit to have on those, so it's really good for the Titans. But TheRayShadow, I will give the shout-out. Despite 1-3-1, at least yesterday on this Tiamat, was able to put up some massive damage numbers. That's really what the team needs right now.
They need anything.
Some proactive play.
I don't even know if they can be proactive now. It's just got to be the best reactive play you've seen. Just some fight back, something. Some damage output, some poke from a range, get TheRayShadow to play a little further up. Maybe keep the Tartarus Titans at bay. But delny's starting to hit critical mass. 1 item away from a true 6 slot. Already is upgraded that starter. 18 stacks on the Prophetic, so just incredibly tanky already. I'm expecting some, just walk it down. Aqua style, I'm unkillable play. Good luck getting through me. Haven't quite found an answer to it just yet. Have the Valhalla Valkyries. WorstTurttle, though, has an okay matchup. If delnyy steps too far on his own, Merc with all this crit should be able to burst through a lot of the HP that delnyy has got. Maybe a little bit of help from TheRayShadow or Warchi could turn things around. Those item proc effects, the soul gems, the tablets, very useful in situations like this.
Well, it's a 2-3 split for the Titans. delnyy and Dame in mid. The rest of the crew starting to focus on left. delnyy walking forward, pulls the attention to 4 over there. That opens up the left side Phoenix. NILLLL caught between the 2.
He does not care.
And is going to be a little bit. There's going to be the beads used. Dame turns that around. WorstTurttle ults in and gets killed off. Well played by the jungler from the Titans. Gets low, though. He's going to have to back away. No teleport for him. So it's going to be the old-fashioned run back. Meanwhile, left side Phoenix takes a little bit of poke. Mid Phoenix goes down about halfway. They got 40 seconds without WorstTurttle.
delny's got the 1v1 in mid. Make it 2v1 with Warchi hovering nearby. Just waiting for Dashboard to resustain a bit. Sickening Strike, going to put in the work there, as well as the Fire Giant buff. 1.5 left on the buff for each member of the Tartarus Titans. 30 seconds of the respawn for WorstTurtle. And with the Warchi limping back to base, got to think the bird's going down.
Yeah, lucky if he can even make it there. delny's going for something. Good knock-up, good CC, keeps Warchi alive, but you lose the Phoenix to keep the Agni. Maybe a worthwhile trade with the way this game has been going. You need defense. You're going to need it under the Titan. Mid Phoenix. Now, the sole target of the Titans, aggression. And that's going to be a quick cleanup. NILLL's getting aggressive. Gets a good knock-up. Taking a lot of shots from Zen.
Wow.
Zen turns their attention over towards TheRayShadow. Raise low. It's going to be a back and forth. Dashboard's low as well. delnyy trying to lead it. Good knock up into a couple of autos. delnyy kills off TheRayShadow. WorstTurtle's back. Ult almost available. Gonna have to go back to Fountain to heal back up. Unfortunately, you're losing everything around you in the process. NILLL picked up. NILLL taken down. WorstTurtle goes in, gets some good shots, but takes just as many in return. Barely scrapes his way back into the Fountain. But does it even matter? At this point, the damage is true. The Titans play well, and they kill off the Titan itself and win game number 1.
Just a clinical game from the Tartarus Titans. Map play, I think, the separator this time around. Jungle presence as well. Gotta shout out Dame. He was running circles around WorstTurtle for the first 15 or so minutes. delnyy, very survivable in the solo lane. Not easy to deal with 5 back-to-back ganks in 8 minutes, but does it and doesn't go down a single time. InMyZen looks like one of the most slippery Ishtar players on the planet in that game, too. Maybe one of the only guys to put up, I believe, 2 deaths for his team, but still looks very good considering the amount of pressure that was coming his way. There needs to be adaptations from the Valkyries. They need to figure out where they want to play through. What was the plan around this Agni? What is the strategy? How are you getting these late game pieces to the late game? Because triple hyper carry late game Agni, Tiamat, Mercury, someone's got to get you there. They just didn't.
On the Agni, the crits start to finally ring true as the Phoenixes are going down, right? It takes a little too long maybe to get hands-on, well, at least when it started being effective. Tried as early as possible. Just did not work out there. The Valkyries are going to need to bounce back if they want to stay alive. Otherwise, they're 1 game away from elimination. We'll find out what happens right after this.
Now just potentially one game away from sending our first team home from the Smite Pro League promotional tournaments. Tartarus Titans taking the win in Game 1 over the Valhalla Valkyries. The Valks got some adjustments to do yet again. It's a composition that's unique. It's born out of being creative, but just does not get it done. Tartarus Titans able to call them on it. And really through Dame, and it feels like Nayhoo this game, Trelly, funnel so much pressure. The style built around this Merlin that could shred, and Dame being able to run it down on an aggressive jungle style of pick. Feels like it slots perfectly into the Titans' play style.
And that's the thing. That's what we said during Picks and Bans,
We
right?
sure
This
did.
looked like the Titans got exactly what they wanted. And I honestly don't know what the Valks want. You know, was this a good Valks draft? It didn't perform well, but is this what they were looking for? We saw Warchi in their first set of this whole tournament on Assassins in the ADC role, and that didn't work out. Now he's on Agni. Is this what the Valks are trying to bring? I'm not sure, but they need to switch up something, because I did see some decent kills from WorstTurttle on the Mercury. The rage stacks were coming through, but that was pretty much it. That's one of the only high points of the draft that I can even give to the Valks because of how explosive the rest of the Titans were, particularly Nayhoo and Dame, as you highlighted, just running around the map, essentially collecting kills.
They were. When your Merlin is aggressively flickering forward and making plays happen with those transformations, tends to not bode well for the opposing squad. And Dame took some fights that were very impressive. That right there nearly dies. Had a little assistance from delnyy, but you got to play that inch perfect. One more auto attack, and suddenly you're trading out kills and fully needing the assistance of your Vamana over on the other side. You know, Trelly, eventually this one gets pretty cut and dry. You know, there's a lot to look at as far as how we got there. It's aggressive playmaking from Dame. It's Nayhoo who had some miraculous rotations early in that game. And finally we get a look at a Vamana that didn't really have answers. I think a lot of it comes down to draft strategy in this one. I think the Titans were able to apply a lot of pressure to Rottwen. Think about the first 3 bans that the Titans threw out there. All of them centered at Rottwen. And just never really found that footing on the Sylvanus, and the kills never just really fully stacked up. So, you know, the Valks haven't shied away from their play style, from their Season 10 God and composition priority. I know we always say, you know, how do you adapt your strategy? What do you change after games have gone poorly? The Valks haven't won, you know, any of their games yet this weekend. I think they're here, and they're trying to make this style of play work, but I'm not sure, Chulainn, we're going to see a complete detraction from what we've seen so far in the name of adjusting.
Well, I mean, they're 0-3, as you've said, game-wise, and, you know, 1 game away from going home. I imagine something needs to be changed. If their goal is SPL qualification, something needs to change.
I'll condense this down into a question.
Okay.
Do you think dropping assassins and mages for either magical or physical AD carries is enough of a change to remedy all of the issues we've seen for the Valkyries up to this point?
Certainly not, but it's a start, and I think getting Warchi on...
Do you want to see that?
I do want to see that, 100%, because I think we saw some shimmers of good play there. We know Rottwen can make some game-changing plays, and I think WorstTurttle had some success there. It was just maybe they needed one more leg to stand on in that case. So I think that could be a change, but, you know, I talked about it before. There is a bit of value in sticking to what you practice, and if hunters were just thrown out of the table,
Yeah.
then I guess that's not what the Valks
Yeah,
are looking
especially,
to
you know, if
change.
tournament lives are on the line.
Right.
To your point, you're not bringing out some composition, you know, potentially for the first time after not having ever practiced it.
Yep.
Unless for some reason you've got some confidence in your team's ability to make it work. If nothing else, I've enjoyed watching some of the creativity from the Valkyries. Just hasn't paid off over the course of this weekend so far. Remember, 1 game away from elimination now are the Valhalla Valkyries. They've got to win a couple straight here against the Titans. The Valhalla Valkyries will start off their draft with a Yamoja, which is a very strong look for Rottwen, again, who got heavily banned out in Game 1 by the Titans. Game 2, it's still Athena, it's still Maui, but a Vamana ban instead. That one largely centered towards delnyy. Titans considering the Tiamat here after Freya, Sol, and Merlin all banned out.
Arise, my child.
Why not? Nayhoo had a great game on the Merlin. I like the Valkyries taking that away, but still a very strong pick, and the Tiamat left open.
Yeah, they hovered the Thor for a second. I would have thought that would have been a pretty easy first pick there, but maybe
Still can be.
Dame either thinks, number one, that Thor isn't that valuable, or two, that he's got plenty of other
Second
options.
pick?
And it looks like they're gonna change it. What's the point? You know, you hover the Thor, change it to a Tiamat, then pick Thor. You know what it is?
That's sending a message.
I think Dame is second pick, and he said, "Bro, I don't want to trade. Just like let me pick it, so I don't have to."
Yeah, it's a really
trade.
good point. The extra clicking
extra
the swap button and then yes. Now he can lean back.
Yeah, he
and
does
not
not
have to think about
have to
anything.
touch the mouse for the rest of the picks and bans. He can just talk. And
These
I think,
junglers.
Yep.
Just want everything given to him for free. You know?
When you're doing as much on the map
That's
as
true,
Dame
he's earned it.
he's allowed to lean back a little bit in that shit.
He's earned it after the way that game one went for Dame and the rest of the Titans. Valkyries now with a lot to consider.
Time to get in there and mix it up.
Achilles doesn't tell us much other than likely that's now their soul laners. That's a NILLL's pick. All cleaned up. Likely means, Trelly, that we're going to be wandering into the second wave of picks here, wondering what the Valkyries are considering for the dual lane partner for Rottwen here. Remember, it's been assassins, been mages, and still a lot of value left open. Ishtar, one of the most popular physical AD carries, still open. Said it'll be a mid lane pick for the Valks. Discordia has been played once, Trelly, and had a really good game when we saw it before. Good follow-up, good setup, good burst damage for the rest of the team.
That is going to be, you got to assume, a mid lane Discordia, because the clear in duo is not the best. So, a very strong front line, though, from the Valks. I mean, Umoja, Achilles, I don't see anyone in this tournament being upset about that top two. And then a Discordia in the back, whoever is going to be like popping off on this side of the Valks is going to get that disco passive, and I think that can help with some early pressure. The Titans are just going to lock in Ishtar for InMyZen once again.
I was wondering, you just ban assassins and mages, I guess, or probably just assassins. I don't know if you're banning out any mages, yeah.
They're sticking to meta, too. They're not even like trying to ban out WorstTurttle. They're saying, hey,
Right.
Kleena and Loki are scary. If you play them, cool. If you go back to your Merc, we don't care about that either.
Right, I'm not even sure that's all just towards WorstTurttle. I think
That's a good
Warchi
point.
catches a stray or two in
that's a
the,
good
in the
point.
assassin bans there. It'll be Initiation banned away by the Valhalla Valkyries. Still some Initiation left open, however. Ymir for the Tartarus Titans, and for Dashboard, their support as well. I think it's another example, though, Trey, despite having flip-flop pick order. I still think through the first four we can say the Titans got exactly what they wanted.
Yep.
In their individual roles. I think the Valkyries might have, though, as well. Umoja, one of the best. Achilles, very strong over in solo lane. Discordia, great at controlling mid. I don't think either team looking bad through their first 3 or 4 picks. It's the Valkyries' next 2 that are going to tell us a lot of the adaptations they choose to make or don't choose to make. Ao Kuang has been banned out constantly in ranked. Haven't seen it much this weekend. Will now see it for the first time alongside potentially a set in duo.
I
would
will
assume
say,
over in duo for Warchi,
if that is set ADC,
which it will.
and it gets locked in, I like that a lot better than any of the other assassins that we've seen Warchi pull out in the
That's at least
ADC
got like
role.
historical value,
Yeah.
right? We've seen set ADC.
I mean, Set quite literally carries with his autos. His
Yeah.
Kingslayer ultimate, he does bring some auto attack damage. You've got plenty of magical damage with the Ao Kuang, the Discordia. I think this comp is the best one the Valkyries have had all week.
Yep.
If we're going with the 4 games we've seen them play, this is their best shot at a win just against anyone. However, the one issue with Ao Kuang has always been, is he getting bullied early? And Tyr and Thor, Ymir, there's a lot of CC. There's a lot of lockdown for this Ao Kuang. I think WorstTurttle is going to have to be on point with positioning, trying to stay away from those fights when he knows all that CC is available. And if so, the Valks get off to a pretty good early start at just trying to find some nice targets to execute.
Actually, really like the way the Titans end their draft here. I think delnyy, great at these styles of solo laners. Tyr, one of his better picks. And so expectations still there for the Tartarus Titans. Identity-wise, we saw what the Titans wanted to do in Game 1. They played around mid quite effectively, played through their jungle, Dame, Nayhoo, really big games in Game 1. Based on the way their composition is built, do you think you can return to that type of identity here, playing through mid, playing through jungle in Game 2?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have so much pressure with the Thor, it almost doesn't matter. but I do think that the Valks have some answers this time around, right? Where they've got a fair bit of lockdown of their own. They can fight with this Yamojol. They have 2 different executes, so the Titans are gonna have to watch their HP thresholds to make sure they're not just deleted from a fight a little bit too early than they would have hoped. It's just, again, a lot of CC, a lot of lockdown early. The Titans can almost play this slowly at first and just decide when they're going to actually initiate with these ultimates. And I would say that the Valks are the ones who have to play a bit reactive in that case.
Now, you've already analyzed the Ao Kuang a bit. Surprise factor, though, Trelly, because, again, in a lot of ranked games, we've seen Ao Kuang still ban-worthy. You know, the one big set of 5 bans. Ao Kuang usually catches a ban in one of the 10 that the players are selecting.
Sometimes 2.
Sometimes 2. That's right, on either side. First pick ban priority all weekend long for the Ao Kuang. Surprised it's taken this long to see this pick.
I don't think so. It's just because in ranked is so different. It's hard in ranked.
Wait, you mean ranked isn't the same as real competitive in Studio Smite?
This may shock you at home, but it is a little bit different. When you just let an Ao Kuang hard carry the game away, it's usually because you're letting him find those 1v1s. If you group up around an Ao Kuang, it's hard to let him hard carry, and mostly it's 5 cohesive units in this case, all operating under one. So I think Ao Kuang's still very solid if you can let him pop off, though.
Valhalla Valkyries, they're on the brink of elimination. They need to win 2 straight, but the Titans, they're looking good. We'll see what happens in Game 2 with your casters.
The Valkyries, it's do or die. They win this one. They at least push us to game number 3. They lose this one, and they go home, Mifflin. No SPL hopes for them for at least another year. So a lot of work to be cut out for them. And I feel like, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like relatively recently I heard you talking about Ao Kuang. But I cannot for the life of me remember whether it was in a positive light or a negative light. So I'll just let you talk about him again.
Man, I was thinking I was being a little too mean to WorstTurttle in the last game, so I didn't want to bring up the Ao Kuang.
Okay, instead we can talk about something else. Look at that Ymir.
Too late. I'm going into it. I'm gearing up. I'm going to talk about Ao Kuang. He's not my favorite right now. It just feels like in a meta where there are assassins that scale incredibly well to the late game, that you would rather just play them than a late game scaling mage in the jungle, because assassins early game are by rote better simply because they get flat pen for free. Flat pen so valuable in the early.
That is really nice.
Because it essentially gives you, like, you roll up at level 8, it feels like you're doing true damage right now, especially with itemization as it is, stacking up a little bit of flat pen from Jotuns too. It just feels so good. And in a game where I think WorstTurttle struggled in game 1 to get active early, putting on something like the Ao Kuang, although simplifying your ganks, having an execute, moves your goalpost to where instead of I need to drop him to 0%, I need to drop him to 20. That's nice, but it's still going to be very difficult. If you're going to continue to camp delnyy, though, I mean, he's only got the beads. Maybe you can do it.
He might be the one that inspired the Ao Kuang. Honestly, taking a lot of poke early on, get some damage onto NILLL. Maybe surprised, or at least I am, by how much damage he took there. The Achilles showcasing what he has to offer. I wouldn't be surprised if after you see a Mercury game where he goes over to delny's lane 5 times and walks away with 0 kills on that gank. I start to think I want to execute that dude as well. We got him low enough for that. And so now you got to see if you can potentially make it happen. So I'm going to watch the Ao Kuang. Although, like you said, how long, right? I mean, at least level 5 before that's even available. But even then, how long after that until you start to show up? Nayhoo as well takes this Tiamat away from TheRayShadow. And at least as of right now, damage-wise, maybe a little bit experience-wise, maybe showing him how it's done.
Yeah, for now, Nayhoo getting the better end of a bit of poke here, but that Discordia transfer for TheRayShadow could have some ripple effects on the map. Getting that Discordia passive on a NILLL who's been keeping delnyy at sub 50% HP this entire time should find some value. Weakness of Discordia being real hard to get active early, very difficult to actually clear waves as well. I think it's around level 5, 6 where she's feeling confident in her ability to solo clear waves. And in a meta where it seems like mid laners get left alone a lot, that's going to give a lot of opportunities to Nayhoo to try and box out.
Well, surprise beads down now for delnyy. As a gank, I guess, goes right in that instance. I mean, if you come over as a jungler, they're at their tier 1 line already, and you can get anything out of them, that feels pretty successful. So WorstTurttle, happily able to walk away from that one. Sets him up in about 2 minutes, as long as he can hit level 5 pretty soon, or pretty quickly. Should be able to return to the lane and maybe have even more to offer towards NILLL. We haven't talked much on the dual lane. Last time around, it was very easy to, because there was an Agni over here, and it confused everybody that was involved, and admittedly was getting out-pressured. Zen goes back to the Ishtar, feels like it should be good, but we get a set carry, which we've seen a few times, but it's been a little while, Mifflin, since the Assassin has felt at home over here.
Yeah, for the longest while Set was still meta, it was just going over towards mid. I think the transition to dual lane going to be just fine. Warchi seems to refuse to play Hunters or Magical Hunters, so getting him on set, I think the closest thing to standard that we're going to get. I'm of like mind with Trelly. I like this draft just infinitely more than anything we've seen from the Valhalla Valkyries so far in this event, giving themselves a very good opportunity and good win conditions they can try and exploit going forward. Executes from NILLL, executes from WorstTurttle, simplifying your team fight. Warchi gets decent poke from a range, has the ability to rotate very easily. TheRayShadow going to boost NILLL throughout the early game, even furthering the threat of that execute. And then Rottwen as a backline facilitator can almost act as a hover. You could play, I believe the terminology is front to back, hover around that mid,
Yeah.
fall back if you need to, move upward if you need to as well. I think Umoja fits that playstyle to a T. That said, the Tartarus Titans, we haven't really looked at their four-man core. The only one we've had eyes on is delnyy, because delny's the only one that's had really any action so far. I really like what DameNWK, Dash, and Zen have put together here. It's a high kill pressure lane for Dashboard and Zen. Nayhoo scales very well into the late game, and Dame's Thor seems to have been, for the most part, banned out against him, and that's for good reason. It's one of his favorite picks, has global presence, and has the potential to bully out an Alkwang, especially at this stage of the game.
Might be looking for something now. You mentioned that Anvil of Dawn, so helpful. Might be coming in a little late, though. WorstTurtle's here. Freeze is good. Immediately into the ult. Damage is good on the Rottwen. That's going to be an explosion worthwhile. And the dunk, just a shy late to stun out WorstTurtle. Not too late for Warchi. The walls, good damage needs to be there. WorstTurtle trades it out 2 for 2. And it seems like the mana too low on one side, health too low on the other. The junglers are going to come over, kill the other lane, and back away.
That is massive for WorstTurtle that both kills go to his pocket. So important that that's the case. This Alkwang needs to expedite this early game as much as humanly possible. And so far, 2-0 start. A great way to do it. I think had Dashboard, though, held on to his ultimate to actually prevent the execute, Dame aims the dunk perfectly, connects with both priority targets. The only reason WorstTurtle is allowed to stick around in that fight as long as he is because he actually got up to the air to avoid that stun. Had Dashboard just waited a little bit longer to start up that activation frame, I think that fight goes very different.
Warchi poked out slightly, and then after he
Yikes.
teleports, not too much to worry about. Dame taking a little bit of poke. The Thor, which I was excited to see what it could offer, struggling a little bit right now against the Alkwang, only a level behind, and admittedly a slower start in some regards for the Alkwang because of the book. The ult is coming back up. Presence on right is not a coincidence because of that. And so they're going to fall back without finding any kills, but they are making sure that the Titans do not feel as confident as they did in game number 1.
Yeah, Valkyrie's doing a good job playing with the momentum that WorstTurtle establishes for his team early on. Seem to be going for a scaling composition. I think a good strategy with this draft. You're stacking up your tablet, you're stacking up Book of Thoth, you're stacking up Prophetic Cloak. Umoja, one of the best at stacking Prophetic Cloak because of the range nature of her abilities. You don't really need to put yourself in dangerous situations, so I think very smart from Rottwen to make that adaptation in the build. It's really the onus belongs to the Tartarus Titans to get active early. If they want to force a fight, if they want to slow down the Valhalla Valkyries, they're going to have to bring the fight to them. With Dame falling behind, from personal experience, speaking with Dame, he hates it. He's very similar to Paul in that if he looks at the enemy jungler and sees a gold deficit or an XP deficit, he's probably going to keep his head down and farm up until he closes it up a good deal. If that's the case, one of them's scaling off of just killing minions, and that's the guy with Book of Thoth. So WorstTurtle probably very happy with the pace of the game so far. If the Valhalla Valkyries were given the option, I'm sure they'd say, all right, non-combat agreement until 25 minutes. Let's rock out at the Fire Giant. I'll see you there, you know, but it's up to the Tartarus Titans to prevent that.
Yeah. Honestly, maybe up to the Anvil of Dawn to be not more impactful. I think its last impact on the fight was just fine. It's just maybe seeing more of them seeing what it can do. Wall off the mark, not going to find the stun. Blocks things out, but there's Rottwen going for walls of their own. Leap up from Nayhoo. Great Riptide. Keeps them re-engaged, but a better freeze. And good disengage now. They're trying to do what they can. There's the dunk right into the shards of ice. The damage is there. Dame gets the kill for Rottwen, but he's losing so much health in the process. TheRayShadow gets rid of him. Now WorstTurttle comes crashing back down from the sky. It's 2 for 2, and they're trying to make it a little more favorable here for the Valkyries. It's so low. Seems like he's out of here now. WorstTurtle, you always have to be worried about some Alquangs after that, but Zen gets back to base. And it's just the 2 for 2 trade.
I got lost in the color explosion there, Gore. I couldn't quite make out when WorstTurtle had gotten up to the air, but once more evades a lot of critical, crucial damage from the Tartarus Titans by finding that execute. I think the Titans now really starting to think about picking up beads for dashboard and second slot to start preventing that situation. Start looking towards beads really for all of them going forward. Maybe some Magi's as well, just to prevent that exact interaction. If Dame is allowed to dunk onto WorstTurtle, that is the best case scenario start for a Tartarus Titans fight. WorstTurtle getting up to the air, it doesn't matter who he does, who he kills, who he executes, as long as he gets up into the air, that's the win condition for this Alquang in the early game. And so far, out of 2 fights, succeeded on it twice.
Now, Tyr, I was going to say Thor, Tyr, it's the other T god, could have a huge impact in there as well. I feel like in the past what we've seen, Mifflin, is a lot of like Tyr pushes, Tyr CC being the thing that stalls the jungler more than anything else. If he can get a really good like blink maybe later, but just some sort of aggression. Maybe delny's going to be a secret savior for the Titans, but after some of the ganks early on, I mean, yeah, you're seeing some bullying maybe in lane right now, but it's been a relatively quiet game in comparison to the Vamana in Game 1 for delnyy, and I feel like that's maybe part of the place that they could change. As you mentioned, though, some CC immunity across the board is going to feel better no matter where it goes.
Yeah, I think so. delnyy, really, I think, probably slows him down the most this game is that rotation into first wave, just putting him down to 10% HP at level 1 since then, has been struggling to find his footing. NILLL benefiting just from having a little bit more goal, a little bit more experience, but mainly that Discordia passive, allowing that poke to continue to roll through, has been very difficult for delnyy to start contending with. But Tyr, as always, does eventually hit this critical inflection point, which is Power Cleave's got 4 points in it. I'm healing now. I'm healing for 300 every 5 seconds, and it's so hard to actually pressure him once that becomes the case.
Nayhoo, under a little bit of pressure, 2 ults thrown out towards him. Not a single one of those connecting. And so he's going to feel pretty solid getting out of there. Quick pause here from Zen, who is maybe not in the same position. So last game, we just kind of left that lane. Admittedly, we've kind of left that lane alone here because he got off to a good start and then was just chilling. Had nothing to worry about. There's an Agni on the other side, not a lot of pressure. The set provided some a little earlier. We saw that huge explosion, both the junglers coming over to duo lane. It's been very quiet on that side of the map. Very quiet, even more so on the right side of the map after that very early gank. It has been a lot more focused in the middle area for both of these junglers.
Yeah, but the difference is the Valkyries, who have got a scaling composition, got off to the fast start. They found the double kill in the duo lane. They found the pressure over in the solo lane. So now it's not so much that we're seeing a concentrated effort to move the action towards the center of the map. It's more so a concentrated effort to prevent action from happening and just punish rotations. The Valkyries are taking a lot of the fights, trying to stop rotations towards mid from the Tartarus Titans, trying to prevent them from grouping up and forcing the engagements themselves. Otherwise, it's been a whole lot of farming, which is suiting them well. Already starting to stack up the Prophetic, nearly done with the Book of Thoth for WorstTurttle, and the experienced leads have continued. That said, Zen is still starting to pull ahead of Warchi. One, maybe a half-level lead, even with dashboard soaking up a lot of the farm on this side of the map. Not exactly what you draft the set for.
Getting aggressive in duo. WorstTurtle's here.
Good
looking
wall.
for something. What a beautiful wall from dashboard. Might be able to turn something around here. Warchi is getting low. Freeze is good. Autos need to ring true. Zen's not going to be able to find it up into the air. Dame maybe just looking to close the distance. No dunks. Instead, into the pit finds Rottwen. Goes for a wall to try and block him away. Not able to get so Riptide. Gets enough distance. Dashboard gets the wall, though. Freeze is good. And the Moonbeam not going to be able to find enough. Dame still able to pick up 1 kill. WorstTurtle looking for something, though. And it's going to be Zen. Doesn't even need the execute. So support for carry on the other
Wall's
side.
coming up.
WorstTurttle needs to stay away. With that wall off the mark, he's going to be just fine.
Major blunder there from Zen, sticking around. Once Dashboard makes the decision to join Dame's fight and leave Zen alone, Zen, who had already taken so much poke and not having access to the beads, needs to play wary of this Alquang. Same here, just an overstay.
Apple gets good damage onto Dame. Still has the execute here for the Alquang. It's going to get used onto Dashboard. Might
Chase
be
him
able to
down.
find something here. Can he go for Dame?
He's looking for it.
He's going to go in for it immediately, looking for the kill. Good hammer. Gets the Thor out of there. But WorstTurttle, 5-0-1. 6 of 6 affected kills. 5 of them sitting on his belt. Feels like he has been the difference maker. And a very, very different game than what we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, talk about a massive turnaround. From absent to life of the party is WorstTurttle, just getting active everywhere on the map. This Alquang is supposed to be a slow pick. I'm supposed to be talking about how he's hitting power spikes and we're slowing down and we're farming on the map. WorstTurtle, he got his lead and he's been running with it since. Now with the Spear, the Mag is giving over additional percentage damage to first target hit, a little bit of lifesteal, some percent penetration. I'm thinking he can get pretty active on map. I wonder if WorstTurtle starts to think about a little bit of flat pen, maybe perhaps some CDR going further into the build. Because that ultimate has just been connecting. We're about 2 levels away from Dashboard getting that second relic. Gotta imagine it's beads, and that will be a major shift up for the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah.
Every single fight WorstTurtle has gone to in the duo lane has net him a dragon transformation, which has net him something big, be it a chase down onto Dame or securing a kill elsewhere, surviving a gank. Once you get access to CC immunity, and I just gotta imagine that's where Dashboard's going with it, to make it a little bit harder. Just make it a little bit more difficult for this Alquang to operate.
Actually has a small level lead over Rottwen. I was kind of surprised to see that for Dashboard here, considering how often at least one of them has been assaulted with an execute. Granted, Rottwen 0, 3, and 4, pretty much matching most of the slash line there. So I'm watching that level 20 for Dashboard more than anything, but we're going to have to wait for him to go back to base before we can see anything true come out of that. Nayhoo may be in a little bit of trouble. WorstTurtle. NILLL even rotating over. This feels like the kind of rotation that goes for a Gold
Look at
Fury.
the wards.
The Valkyries. Oh my god, yeah, vision galore in the jungle. They're going to see everybody coming from a mile away. Start up the Fury. Get it to about half health.
Titans got ward in the pit, though.
That apparently is all they need right now. It's a distraction factor. Zen, Dashboard
Good
pulled in
pull.
by a Riptide. There's going to be an ult from Zen. Not going to find the stun. Not going to find enough. Warchi chasing him down. Zen's in a little bit of trouble.
Dunk's
Good dunk
big.
by Dame. And then a follow-up from the tier, but it's not enough. Zen gets dove. Warchi at least trades it out. It's 1-for-1, the assassin for the carry.
Gotta run,
There's
Dash.
Dashboard. He's
Nope.
up in the air, and WorstTurtle gets his free out-of-jail card that he needs just to make sure he can stay alive. Dame avoids the second execute that's on this team, and NILLL actually might be punished for it. delnyy getting closer,
ult.
goes for the ult. Off the mark there, but Nayhoo picks it up anyway. TheRayShadow, Rottwen, last 2 left alive here
Nice.
from the Valkyries. That's going to be a good pickup. Riptide, not going to be enough here. Nayhoo's going to clean it up with a double kill. That's going to stop any sort of thoughts of a Gold Fury for the Valkyries.
So surprised to see WorstTurtle completely vacate the scene like that after going up into the
He
air.
did. He
My
got
man said,
out.
I'm done. NILLL, you missed your execute, bro. Can't be doing that. Wouldn't be me. I hit my execute, all right? And just completely evacuates the scene. Maybe could have peeled out for Rottwen. Maybe could have turned around some of that engagement as well. But instead, has eyes for the midwave and the Pyromancer, the Valhalla Valkyries. Make good use of WorstTurtle. Leaving. Get a little bit more on the map. But it's the Tartarus Titans, I think, who are probably the biggest winner there, considering the pace of the game, how that fight had started, with Warchi getting involved in the back line, chasing out Zen, WorstTurtle getting up in the air, with the ward coverage, all favoring the Valkyries as well. I think the Tartarus Titans play very well with the cards they were dealt to keep that to a minimal loss. But minimal loss is not what you've drafted for. This is the portion of the game where you would expect the Tartarus Titans draft to be flourishing, and so far have been led around by the nose. Just trying to chase WorstTurtle on the map. It's a complete inverse of Game 1.
You had called for it earlier. Dashboard hits 12, backs immediately. Not just gets beads, upgrades them as well.
Smart guy.
Wants the cooldown as much as possible. Vision was in favor of the Valkyries over on left earlier, and it still is. Gold Fury started up. Gold Fury taken down, so the Valkyries not leaving anything to chance. Not worrying too much about a fight. They got the Pyromancer just a little bit prior to that as well. A little over 2,000 gold sitting in their favor. Maybe a little more if NILLL was able to get something done. Instead, he's getting blocked off. But this has been just the problem. Trying to get over to some of the solo laners. They are not going to die. NILLL up against the wall. And Dame, I think, just recognizes this one. Unless you got a hunter nearby, maybe a mage nearby, nothing's coming out of that. Just falls back.
Yeah, I think shutting down NILLL's got to be low on the priority list right now. So unless he is just diving into the back line against 5 like we'd seen on the tower on the left-hand side, very difficult to actually chase him out when he's full HP and very survivable. So good call from Dame to go ahead and reset. Perhaps concerned about a rotation from WorstTurttle or TheRayShadow, who are hovering on the right-hand side of the map. We're starting to get to the point of the game now where the Valhalla Valkyries draft is hitting some very big power spikes. Soul Gem for both WorstTurttle and TheRayShadow, giving over a little bit more sustain in these team fights. The ability to just shred objectives certainly there. Objective secure maybe also favoring the Valhalla Valkyries, thanks to the Strife Unruly Magic combo. Essentially synced up damage. I think beats out just about anything Nayhoo can match out. So maybe the Valhalla Valkyries try and vie for the Fire Giant soon. Otherwise, Warchi just keeps going in like this. It's a telegraph. WorstTurttle nearby.
Oh my god. Doesn't need the execute. Honestly, might not even need Warchi there. WorstTurttle comes in, cleans up, gets out, and seems to be just clean. The double assassin pickup. Even though one of them's magical, it has just felt. I mean, insurmountable at moments. Dashboard with the beads maybe feels a little better, but both relics used by Zen in that fight and does not make enough of a difference.
Whoever kills WorstTurtle is going to get a 900 gold infusion to their pocket, right? So
that's a lot of gold.
It's a massive bounty. If or when it does eventually happen. God, I think it's going to be soon. But with Zen now without beads or Aegis, WorstTurtle, who has already shown that he loves camping the dual lane when he's on the Alkwong, will probably be back. And it's a very simple execution on that gang. Execution in that simple to do, not literally taking him up into the sky. But that's going to be pretty simple too, considering 2 minutes on beads.
Also, all he has to do is press 4 at the right time. Which,
And be close.
admittedly, I was going to say, it does, that almost belittles it. It is much more difficult to time in certain moments. Luckily, there's not a lot of like burst healing the Titans have versus something like the Emoja on the other side. So maybe they don't have to worry about it as heavily in terms of timing. Mifflin, it feels like we hit these like really high impact, like crazy team fight positions. And then almost always it resets to 2 tanks smacking each other, laughing because neither of them are actually doing any damage by the time they've actually like hit something that would have sustained damage. The other guy's already healed it back up. So with Pyromancer coming up, maybe points of contention, points of interest on the map to focus on. Dashboard, maybe more interested on just staying alive here. Same for Zen. Ult doesn't work out. Use the disengage. There's going to be the Thor dunk just off the mark. Wall not going to stun either. Now they're trying to catch out Warchi. Oh, he needs a little more damage, but the walls are good. There's a teleport from Dame, and they are able to chase that one down. Rottwen alone. Rottwen in the tower. The Riptides creating just enough of a disengage. They're out of there. I completely missed. I guess WorstTurtle I see now back in base. Maybe not finding the trade that he would have liked.
WorstTurtle is the king of the ripcord. This fight has not gone how I predicted. I'm out, and he immediately leaves once more. Warchi trades his life. Timing of it, not exactly ideal. Pyromancer back on the map. Primal Fury back on the map as well. The Tartarus Titans, 10 seconds to play with in a 5v4. Should be looking towards the objective. WorstTurtle does the best that he can. Solo the Pyromancer. A simple pickup, put a Runic Bomb in the pocket. The Tartarus Titans, they get the larger of the 2 objectives. Primal Fury, it's going to go to them.
Seems, yeah, no, it's going to be uncontested. Takes a little longer than maybe they would like in order to clear that one out. 20 minutes into the game. And it takes a small dent in the gold the Valkyries have. Still keeps it around that 3,000 mark. Just shy, maybe, of keeping it full 3K. But ultimately, we're starting to enter the conversation where 3,000 gold lead, very good for the Valkyries. But you maybe need something like a Fire Giant to overcome what has otherwise been adversity. Surprised at this point to see only one Tier 1 has fallen down throughout this entire time. It is the Tier 1 in mid for the Tartarus Titans. Maybe even more surprised to find out that the Bastions are both still up for the Valkyries Tier 1 and left. And so if you're looking for where the pressure has been, I mean, almost entirely in mid based on tower health.
Has to be. Tower HP, pretty low. To get knocked down. A stiff breeze will be able to knock that one over. But for now, I think that breeze will have to wait. Not much to fight over on map. We've crossed that 20-minute threshold where the Fire Giant seems to be the target. But the Valhalla Valkyries have not grouped up as 5. Means that, for now, the Tartarus Titans get to spin their wheels, farm up a little bit more, play very safe on map. I think now is the time where it's the Valhalla Valkyries that need to get proactive. I'd said it was on the Tartarus Titans to prevent the late game from coming. We're here now. We're level 20 on the Alquang, nearly full stacked. We're really close to upgrading that starter. Everybody else is starting to get their power spikes as well. Tablet of Destiny, Book of Thoth stacked up for TheRayShadow. Let's leverage it. Leverage your power spike. Play while you're ahead. 3,000 gold lead. It's not easy, but you can group up on right, knock over that tower. Group up on left, knock over that. Or even potentially just group up on the Fire Giant. We've seen how much burn potential WorstTurttle has on his own. With the help of his team, they're very threatening around the largest neutral objective.
Right now, it was WorstTurttle who was the target. Manages to get a dash away. Dashboard caught out for a moment. Apple's going to be good on Zen. Aegis a little bit better. There's going to be a dunk. Great from Dame. Peels off Warchi. They need to be able to find that. Dame's able to get in there and get the kill. Now Dashboard leading the way, looking for some sort of kill. The damage in return, maybe too much to handle. Has to back away. Still has those beads, so maybe isn't as worried about WorstTurtle. WorstTurtle, though, maybe looking for something a little more. Instead, he's going to find a tier. And that's not exactly what you want to try and run into as of right now. So the Valkyries go in, get aggressive, lose their carry, and the Titans come out ahead.
Yeah, I don't. Zen must have said something to Warchi between these games because these dives are personal. All 5, it feels like, of Warchi's deaths are just, we're going in? All right, we're killing Zen, though, right, guys? Like, it's got to be Zen. Goes in on his own, runs into 4, and the rest of the team not willing to follow up. That said, it's been working out for him, still nursing a slight lead over Zen on the other side, but as the crit starts to stack up, 3 stacks on Rage, probably going to pick up another crit item in the last slot, maybe a Deathbringer there. Would make it difficult for him to take those 1v1s any further. And the Tartarus Titans, he only hit level 20 once on the side of the Valkyries. The Titans are now starting to do the exact same. It's just supports and AD seeds, waiting on the ability to upgrade those starters. Otherwise, Fire Giant seems like a great option for either team now. You've got the burn from Zen or from WorstTurtle. I'm looking at the relics, Shell, Meditation down for Rottwen. Beads Aegis or Zen, which means WorstTurtle is likely to be hovering nearby, but group up with your team, you can make it a little bit more difficult. Pyromancer spawning up too, and that spawns up before the Gold Fury. Will be a much better target. Seems like the Tartarus Titans are starting to group up pretty significantly. Confidence in their ability to 5-on-5, but it's around the Gold Fury. This is dangerous. The Valhalla Valkyries are privy to it. If they see this 5-man stack, a rotation of Fire Giant might just net them the Fire Giant.
Realistically right now, in a tournament where we have been talking, I think a lot about the duo lane and specifically how stacked duo feels. Granted, jungle also feels stacked, solo feels a little stacked, but duo lane specifically
That's all.
here.
You're throwing shade at mid laners now. That's all you're doing.
1 and 9 for Rottwen and Warchi, 2 and 8 for Dashboard and Zen. Despite the fact that that has been maybe one of the bigger points, at least that we've noticed for this weekend. Hasn't really been the case, at least this game. Granted, when you're 7-0 and 2, WorstTurtle doesn't need as much help from everybody else. 3-0 and 4, Nayhoo still not dying just yet. 5-1 and 3 for Dame. It's been a slow roll for the Titans, Mifflin. Maybe it's going to continue being slow, but if they could pick a fight right now, especially with WorstTurtle on the other side of the map, they might be able to get something they want. delnyy just off the mark with the Fearless. Wall going to be good. Warchi goes in. Titans get the Pyro. And now they need to win this fight afterward or at least get out of there. Dashboard goes for the Shards of Ice. Gets some damage out there. Dame's up in the air. The question is, where is he going to come dunking down? Finds 3,
What?
but ends up just burned down. Warchi finally going big in one of these fights, getting a lot done and chasing down even more. Looking for Nayhoo. Not able to find the kill. Falls back. The kill off 3 in the blink of an eye.
That is a 4 versus 5 that goes handily to the Valhalla Valkyries. WorstTurtle has still not made contact with an enemy god, finally. Locks eyes with delnyy, but what can you do there? Chase down early, delnyy uses the beads. All of a sudden, you're an execution target. But the Valhalla Valkyries have got their eyes set on greater ambitions. Fire Giant burning slowly, but that was before their Alquan got there. WorstTurttle will bring the damage. It's up to delnyy to slow him down.
Hanging around. Spots out TheRayShadow. Might not be able to get the FG. Might get a kill onto the mid laner. Just depends on where he goes. Fearless is going to connect a little bit there. Fire Giant sitting half health. delnyy seems to be the main target. So does Nayhoo. WorstTurtle separates, looks for the mid laner, finds him like it's nothing, and is able to get rid of one more Titan. Now delnyy just running away, and unfortunately being just bullied by NILLL. WorstTurtle comes out, steals a little bit, but a surprise to me, the Valkyries drop the Fire Giant, and if they back here, the Titans might be able to encroach on their territory.
Maybe, but with Nayhoo dead for
Nah,
30,
yeah, it doesn't look like they will.
you feeling confident in your ability to actually do the Fire Giant? Zen's just now starting to leave base. I think shouts delnyy for preventing the fire. Nayhoo nearly turns around the 1v1 up against Alquan. No small feat, by the way. Would have been better had he used one of those two relics, Beads and Aegis, still available. Maybe could have avoided that water illusion from Alquan, but regardless, that was a situation where the Valhalla Valkyries are heavily favored in their ability to just shut down the Fire Giant, but it's the Tartarus Titans who stick in there, and with gumption, are able to prevent that from falling. But it was not without cost. Those relics, I think, going to be very important going forward. We're still 70 seconds off of delnyy getting his beads back, 40 seconds from Aegis on Zen, and WorstTurtle's no weaker than he was previously. In fact, only stronger with that Polynomicon finish.
Maybe pressure to be had. Apple finds its bounces, lands on the dashboard, and it's an easy two-piece for the Valkyries. Don't even need to worry about the other three. They're too far back. Mifflin, you want to open up a door for a Fire Giant. They just absolutely knocked it down.
That'll do it.
And now you're talking 4 minutes of a buff already with a 6,000, 7,000 gold lead going in favor of the Valkyries. We're about to see a very drastic map shift.
So what does the siege look like from the Valkyries? Oh, the weakness of the draft having no range damage, truthfully. Range structure damage, I should say. Might start to rear its head. PvP still certainly seems to be in their favor. And if WorstTurtle is allowed to walk in with his Polynomicon, he'll make short work of those structures, but not so certain that's going to be the case once you get in towards the Phoenixes. Gold leads stacked up to a ridiculous amount will help you out a bit, alleviate some of those issues in your draft, but it's not as if the base defense for the Tartarus Titans is weak. Dashboard with the wall can control where the damage comes from. Zen with the enhanced ranged autos, those snipe autos, can keep the Valkyries at bay. Even Nayhoo, just by nature of playing a standard mage, is going to be very good at dealing with these minion waves. I wonder, the Valkyries, if they could find their pick first and just leverage this super tanky build from NILLL to hold Phoenix aggro, maybe it drops eventually. We'll get a good look at it going forward. I think the key players on both teams, starting with the Valkyries, WorstTurtle, of course, 8-0-2 Alquan. Big call by me. No one realized he was a key player, but he is. As well as TheRayShadow. Those are the two that are going to actually be able to finish off these kills. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Warchi to get involved. This melee assassin, auto attack based style play just really won't have the same level of ease when you're actually playing in that unofficial 6-man zone of the Phoenix. Key players for the Tartarus Titans. I'm keeping my eyes on Nayhoo. That damage output's got to come from him, Zen as well. Fortunately for the Titans, they don't have to concern themselves with that 1,000 true damage that Runic Bomb would bring. In fact, it's actually in their pockets. And I'm pretty sure Ymir, with a fully channeled freeze with no DR, might last long enough to actually set up a bomb combo on somebody. You know, we haven't seen a whole lot of that in the PvP, but chain some CC and knock up could be pretty nice.
Have the opportunities. Maybe they can manufacture them. We'll see. It's all up to them. It's been a Phoenix line. Patience.
It's a good poke.
12,000 gold in favor of the Valkyries after all the towers cleared up. And it's just whether or not they can get in there. A little bit of time on the Fire Giant to try and get this going. Pyromancer's up if they wanted a second bomb. That might be too much of a retreat for him now. Just off the mark for the wall for Dame. I guess the other way to frame this, the other way to look at it, well, we can hold that thought now as delnyy gets in, gets aggressive on the WorstTurtle. Warchi just kills off Dame. Does trade his life out for the process, though, Zen, trying to get away. Dashboard uses his ult. Phoenixes are going to be the backup auxiliary targets. They are going to get picked up here. Maybe not. Left side Phoenix is low, but it's still kicking. And NILLL can't say the same there with a shell and the ult able to get out of there. WorstTurttle gets to the back, gets the execute, and now that's the go button for the Valkyries. Get into the Titan room and get this game over. Keep yourselves alive in the tournament and keep pushing forward. They're going to back away from the Titan. They've killed off 3. They've got 40 seconds to spare. All they need is WorstTurttle to get one more kill. Has Zen in his sights.
Zen's got him in his sights too.
Yeah, trying to figure out who can take this one. You got to be careful. delnyy with some CC might be enough to turn this around, but it is not. The Strife comes in big, but no, it's Zen. The autos, they're ringing true. It's almost enough, but WorstTurttle gets it, gets out. delnyy has to run. It's 4 for 3. Might be going 4 for 4 here. delnyy wants this so badly that I don't think he's going to catch up to WorstTurttle. Might be able to catch TheRayShadow, but even then, that's a pipe dream.
It is. That was
so close.
Nearly able to shut down the 10-0 Aokwang. That bounty would have been massive for whoever got it, but it seems like we might be looking at an undying game here for WorstTurttle out of the jungle. The Soul Gem proc, all the life steals stacked up in his build. The only thing separating him from a death and just walking out towards the jungle. Maybe looking at the builds now for the Tartarus Titans with that much lifesteal on the side of WorstTurtle, you got to think anti-heal, a major topic of conversation. You've got a good deal of it. Divine Ruin, Brawler's Bead Stick. That's just about it. Maybe a Deathbringer from Zen. Had he had that, the fight goes handily to him. But we're a good ways off. I thought he'd be closer than just the hidden dagger. Instead, decides to upgrade that starter item. Maybe pick up a power potion as well. That's an indicator from Zen that he thinks this last fight could be the last fight, this next fight rather, around the Fire Giant. Hail Mary play. Minions already in their base. The Tartarus Titans, they want something to happen here. It's got to happen quick.
Considering I was thinking the last fight was the last fight, the next one, if it goes handily on either side, should be it. Felt like the Valkyries, I mean, they were on the cusp. If it is not for the miracle play there between Zen and delnyy, we're probably talking a lot longer, or sorry, a lot shorter of a game. Now, though, it's a backup. It's clear for Dame, and it's a Pyromancer for the Valkyries. If you're talking gold lead, they got it. Valkyries going even further ahead. 2 undying players. So a lot that needs to be changed here overall for the Titans. Fire Giant started up. Going to be sitting just above half health. delnyy on the side, dashboard, spots it out. They're going to go in, looking for a little bit. NILLL's going to be targeted. NILLL's tanky. NILLL's hard to kill. They're going to try and invest as much as they can, but unfortunately Dame has taken a lot in the process. Fire Giant's been dropped in favor of the fight.
Dame's
up into the sky goes the Thor. Where does he come dunking down? Finds 2 and is able to catch out Warchi, but Warchi teleports out of there, seems to be alive, and instead they're turning around. It's 2 of the Titans that are gone, and the chase is on for the Valkyries. WorstTurtle going in deep. Finally, someone shuts him down, and that might be enough. I mean, if you're going 1 for 2, Zen staying alive, they could probably defend this. Fire minions on the Titan have to play carefully. Dashboard's gone. It's Zen. It's delnyy one more time, and they've got a lot of work to do to make sure this stays alive.
NILLL's doing a great job keeping Zen out of this fight. delnyy shouldn't be under threat on his own, but it's about keeping the base up. 30 seconds left on the nearest respawn for the Tartarus Titans. Warchi has had time to go back to base and bring a minion wave back with him towards this mid-Phoenix, and Zen hasn't had the same luxury.
Yeah, there's an execute. There's a kill for NILLL. And now it is just the walk in. They get the mid-Phoenix. Left side Fire minions are right there. They might just be keeping their tournament lives alive right now. Titan goes down. We got us a game 3. The Valkyries are going to take this one ever so slowly.
That one is an important turnaround for WorstTurtle in particular. Having a performance like that after game 1 being so quiet, massive not only to keep your tournament life up, but also to keep your momentum and keep your mental up. Having a performance like that, so good moving into game 3. Build up some momentum, play through them. It's not orthodox, it's not standard. Every bit of Season 10 knowledge that I've accumulated in the one brief week we've had competitive play has told me that Assassins in the Jungle are just the wave. But if you're good at Aokwang, and that's what you want to play, and you're going to have performances like that, do it every time.
Yep, you get the free pass at this point, right? Just because you make it look good, and admittedly find a lot of executes. If that doesn't happen early on, especially on the dashboard, I mean, that is what starts essentially a steamroll for him. Finally gets taken down at the end. Zen If the game had gone on like 30 seconds longer after he died, could have spent some of that money on something. I don't think it makes a difference,
needed the Deathbringer. He needed it.
And unfortunately, by the time he could afford it, Titan's dead. Not a lot for them to do. They have to look ahead now, Mifflin. As we go to game number 3, what kind of things do the Titans need to change? Outside of just, hey, stop the Ao Kuang.
I might ban the Ao Kuang, honestly. That is one of the best performances
How
we've seen
it
from
has
WorstTurttle
changed
so
from the
far.
beginning of the game.
I mean, I might just ban it, legitimately. I mean, that was a great performance individually. We haven't seen that level of play from him elsewhere in the tournament. I might ban out the set as well. That's the first time they've been dealt a hot hand. I'd take it away. You know, that's just me.
Control the things that you can, get rid of what you can. The Titans are looking to bounce back after this one. One more game, and one of these teams goes home. The other one stays alive. We'll find out who it is after this.
I'm bad at pretending, you know I'll be true. Sunday mornings and midnight lights turn into songs that you watch me write. Stole your sweater on that night. You took a picture, keep by my bedside. So you're mine when you're gone, baby, please don't be long. I got my ticket to the west side. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuition.
The Valhalla Valkyries not done, not just yet. They send us on to a Game 3, finally notching a win here this weekend of the Smite Pro League promotional tournament they have. What we on the desk thought was maybe their best composition this weekend so far. It pays off. Also helps having a 11-0 Ao Kuang at one point throughout the game, you'd think. Despite that, though, Trelly, Tartarus Titans, they put up a good fight here.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like those later game team fights, regardless of the outcome here, regardless of the Valkyries winning, felt like the Titans still had a foot in some of those fights. Never felt comfortable, though. It's one of those intangible, like, it felt like they were always on the back foot. It was always like a fadeaway kill from InMyZen at the end of the fights that maybe delayed out this game a bit.
It was, at one point we both looked up at the screen. We're like, okay, how are both duo lanes this far negative? It was like 1-7 combined for both jungle or both support and ADC, and then like 2-8 for both duo lanes.
Right.
And it was because Dame would come over, get some kills, and then WorstTurttle would come over and get some kills. That was pretty much what was happening consistently. Even Nayhoo would come over and get some of it, but the duo lane was just not able to survive. And then once the late game comes through, I was thinking, whoever shuts down WorstTurttle, I'm thinking if this Ao Kuang dies, it could be a game changer. And it turns out the rest of the team just picked up the slack. WorstTurttle did eventually die, and it did not matter. Warchi had some great dives. I think that NILLL was very annoying to try and shut down because of the movement speed on this Achilles. And I got to give credit to Rottwen. This is the exact ult. Some big Yemoja ults throughout this game. I mean, just blocking off the paths. And, I said at the beginning, this is the best comp I've seen out of the Valks. And this is the first game they actually win.
Agreed. I think this is finally our glimpse at what we thought this team could be capable of here this weekend. I don't think any of them, or I don't think this roster was in the top sort of 4 predictions or top 2 predictions for any of the casters. However, seemed like a team that could make some noise, could make life difficult for other teams at this event. Just hadn't seen the creative compositions really pay off in game. And so I agree with you, Trelly, and your thought that this, even just the one changeover in duo, where it's still an assassin, but it's an assassin that we've seen success with in the past for SPL level teams. And I love the look from the Valhalla Valkyries. Can WorstTurttle keep that momentum going? Can we get another jungle performance from WorstTurttle that'll now send the Tartarus Titans home? Remember, this is a Game 3, final game of this set. Winner goes on in the losers bracket. Loser goes home. You're fighting for a chance to qualify into the Smite Pro League. A year of salary, a year of playing here in studio. I suppose easier paths to tournaments.
A year of getting to meet us. That's a
that
dream
is
that anyone
that
would fight
requires
for.
hazard pay. We're gonna have to pay them extra because they have to hang around us for a bit more time. Immediate adaptation from the Titans. They're gonna ban out the Ao Kuang while sticking with their Rottwen-centric bans. This time though, it's not the Athena taken away. It's the Yemoja after Rottwen has a really nice game on Yemoja, and Athena's still around. Wonder if the Valkyries prioritize that highly enough to go towards Athena in one of the first 2.
I do like the Ao Kuang ban. I think that there weren't many answers for WorstTurttle. Like I said in game number 1, he was one of the only high points of the Valks draft, that Mercury. And then in game number 2, he was the high point for sure. And this time around, the Titans do not want to deal with that pick.
Athens.
And it looks like pretty early on going to pick that Athena, about as early on as you can get. Some extra CC, some global presence.
Go forth,
and
my
a
children,
pretty linear
and take over
initiation
this land.
with that taunt. Follow that with the Tiamat. That means that we're going to have to see something new out of the mid lane as well from Nayhoo. Tiamat is a pick that I think that a lot of these mid laners have been liking to go to. I think they have a lot of CC already in that first 2.
They sure do. Mono was a really good look for delnyy at points throughout this week so far. And so I like anchoring a lot of your composition to that pick out of Soul Lane. Teams have struggled to find answers to it consistently. Far from unbeatable. Definitely still annoying, though. And we've seen teams even go as far as banning it out in one of their first 3 ban slots. Again, with the Valkyries, though, the question ends up being when you get towards the end of this composition, we're going to assume this is Tiamat mid. I think it's a pretty safe assumption. Are you going to see a second mage? Are you going to see what could potentially be 2 assassins? That's still something the Valks are going to force the Titans to think about. Agni was the second mage in game number 1. Did not look the best, but still performs wonderfully in an actual mid-esque role. Bacchus was hovered, but Sobek is going to end up being the lock-in here. So you got control out of your support. Big pluck can really set up for a fight. Good slow with the lurking in the waters. And then it is an Agni. So you get big burst damage and space control with the next 2 picks from the Titans.
Yeah, I've seen enough of the Valks drafts to know that traditional hunters are out. And then, like, I don't think there's any
This is
way.
the one game where they play it, right?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any way that Warchi says, you know what, guys, fine, I'll go a hunter. I'm just not seeing that happen. But the set was great, so it looks like that is going to be the call. Try and run it back, and they will lock in the set. I see no reason not to. It's the best Warchi has looked all tournament, in my opinion. And late game, he actually had some really impactful, not even just hard dives, as set does, but some good opportunities just to split push, help with those Phoenixes, that sort of thing. And I think just so much safety as well as shred and burst damage that this pick can provide. So the Valks have really diversified their damage. They've got that magical damage with the Tiamat and the initiation from the Athena, as well as just getting Warchi back on something he feels confident on. And you got to assume that the Titans want to take away anything that WorstTurttle has been looking good on so far this set, and that would be the Alquang and the Mercury.
Yep.
You could throw one more over there if you want to.
Yeah, especially after what has been a tough week so far for Warchi. And if you finally got a bit of momentum build up after game number 2 there, the set felt great. Why not return to it and ride the hot hand? Clear discussions going on between the Valkyries here. Not wanting to drop out of this tournament just yet. You got great rotation potential from the Athena. If you lock in this Thor, that's just going to be increased. Now, everywhere on the map for the Titans, Trelly, is going to have to be on high alert.
Yep.
You're going to have the Valkyries and swift rotations through the jungle after a really great game from WorstTurttle on an Alquang. Still carry potential here on this Thor.
Yeah, and I think another thing is that the Titans like to force their own fights, right? And if you're thinking, okay, yeah, we can go to duo lane, maybe we'll have the leg up over here, or maybe we can find some sort of ambush in the jungle. Look towards the sky, look towards literally any teammate on the map, and the Thor and the Athena can make their presence known. So it makes you really double take exactly how many fights you want to take in the early, especially when you don't know the cooldowns or if you don't have tabs on where those 2 characters are. With the assuming jungle and ADC locked in for the Valks, they still are holding on to their solo pick. With the Titans have their chance as well. Zen has been going towards the Ishtar pretty much exclusively.
Yep.
So let's see what the change-up will be, if there is one. The Camazot's hover. A lot of Dame's gods taken away as well. The Thor has been picked. The Susano has been banned. I wouldn't mind seeing something like the Rat, and it looks like that is going to be the immediate switch-up while the Jing is hover. This is something I've seen Zen play a lot in ranked in particular. It takes some team help to get this pick online because Jing doesn't have the pressure early on, but you got a Sobek for pressure, and you've got a Rat for early rotations. I don't mind it. I like this Titans draft.
If I'm thinking back to Dame and the SEC Road to Worlds in December, and some of the success that team had, there was a lot of Thor, a lot of Ratatoskr, able to do similar things, obviously in different ways, but semi-global presence, dunk down, be aggressive, kind of a free shot into the back line, provided your positioning is correct. And so I like this from Dame, and not something we've seen many junglers play so far this weekend. Jingwei is going to raise some eyebrows, though. First pick / ban so far in all the games we've seen. Smiles rolling through the Valkyries team booth here.
Knuckle touches all around.
Knuckle touches all around, though Rottwen, cool, calm, and collected as we expect him to be. Guan Yu ends up being the final pick now for the Valhalla Valkyries. That'll likely go over to NILLL, rather, in the solo lane. And so a bit of healing down the stretch here. You're going to have to worry about set healing, but then Guan Yu healing as well. And on the flip side, Vamana's going to be healing up a bit. And so maybe some priority into anti-heal at points throughout this game.
A completely different mindset, at least facial expression-wise, from the Valks, who just came off a win. They're feeling good. The Titans just came off a loss. They're more
feeling bad.
More lackadaisical is what I would have said.
Sure.
They want to jump in, and I think Dame going to one of his pocket picks, this Ratatoskr, I think extremely prevalent in the early game. I haven't really seen too many of the, that strat where you just get a starter item and tier 2 Acorn, you find upgrade Acorn as soon as possible and just blink in like level 2. I'd like to see if that's even possible in the current meta, to see if maybe Tiamat or Set, or even going over to solo lane could be the call. A lot of ideas there. Point is, I think the Titans want to get going early because We know that WorstTurttle did last game. He showed up in duo lane early on, got that kill streak rolling, try and put a stop to that, like pre-level 5, probably the call here for the Titans.
Here's the good news. What did we say? The dual lanes were like 1 and 7 and
1-7, 2 and 8.
2 and 8 combined.
Yeah.
Jing Wei's nice and safe,
That is
right?
true.
I mean, you can get out of fights, you can dash your way away, you can airstrike your way away defensively. If that's what you want your mindset to end up being, takes a little bit of time in your mind to get online. But I think maybe the duo lanes, if you're able to take a breather and really get into it, that's a good look here for this game. But I have to imagine, Trelly, this will be a fun jungle battle to follow along with between a Ratatoskr with Through the Cosmos, Thor with that Anvil of Dawn. Positioning, ward coverage, all-time high. Are you putting a lot of weight on WorstTurttle and Dame to build up the momentum for their team here in Game 3?
I would not be surprised if their farm is matched, if we see them both in the air over duo lane, like right at level 5.
want
Just
it.
both waiting for each other, like, who you going on, bro? You know, like that. If they match each other's farm and they're both 5 around the same time, it seems like both
It's
of these
gotta be-
junglers want to go left.
Does the guy who dunks second have the advantage because you stun or knock up the dude
Thor
who went
can be
first?
knock-up immune with his 3, so it
That's a
depends.
good point. We'll see how that plays out. A winner-take-all, loser goes home. Game 3 between the Titans and the Valkyries starts right now.
That's right. 1 game, 1 win, or conversely, 1 loss is what separates these teams and their potential chance at continuing to fight for a spot in the SBL. It's do or die here for the Titans and the Valkyries, and we'll see if they can make it work out as we jump into game. It will be Dame on the Ratatoskr, one I'm excited to see. WorstTurttle going to try to reprise his carry role this game, Mifflin, though he's going to be doing it on the Thor, which admittedly, as far as like normalcy goes, there we go, that's a little bit more expected.
Yeah, I think so. And if the win condition is getting up into the air, Thor doesn't have to kill someone to do it. You know, he can just press 4 from anywhere on the map. So I've got high expectations for WorstTurtle. It's a pick that he's had a good deal of success on in the past. It's much more in line with the standards. So just keep your eyes on him. Should be able to get involved a little bit earlier on, but that's hard to say considering how quickly that Alquan got involved in the previous match. Dame, on the other hand, with this Ratatoskr, I think Charlie brings up a good point of parity between these two. Just have the ability to do exactly the same thing, essentially, throughout the early game. If they are on the mark with their experience in their farm, they're both ticking over to level 5 around the same time. Good luck finding a gank without the other one being there.
So far, the starts, nothing going to be too surprising. Also, nice to see delnyy back on the Vamana. It feels like that was very helpful for them in game number 1. As well as Dashboard back on the Sobek. Things that were controlling a lot. But Zen's going to be on the Jing. Now, granted, after what Warchi had said, and we had talked about this, but potentially banning out things like the set was what we had mentioned maybe at the end of that. Instead, Warchi gets to reprise it. But Jing is a lot safer in the face of someone like an assassin because you can create so much space between you and them. And it feels like Warchi might have trouble getting as many kills at least this time. Pressure might still be there, but he might not be able to knock out Zen as often.
Yeah, and if Zen so chooses to go down that crit tree again, you don't have to get as lucky in the early game, right?
Yeah,
Explosive
good point.
bullets giving over a little bit of additional crit means you can feel a little bit more confident in your ability to take
You can
those
be a little less
boxing matches.
accurate because they get wider.
Yeah, they get wider. Got some AoE. They can't hide in the wave nearly as easily. Got those cleave auto attacks, so...
Damn, wait, maybe I played Jing more.
Yeah, Barracuda's onto it, you know, 140 games or something. You'd think some more people would catch on. Jingwei very strong right now. Really frustrating to line up those ganks as Thor, too. The ability for her to maneuver around the wall or reaction ultimate the dunk all really lead to a really unfun lane to show up to.
I preferred Thor 1 anyway, so it works out well. That is a really bad joke, and I'm sorry. That's the kind of stuff I
didn't
subject
get
Katie
it.
to.
I
No,
didn't even get
You
it.
said Thor 2,
And
so
you
I said I prefer Thor 1.
Oh, the movies.
Because there's, like, movies
there
about
are
'em.
movies,
Yeah.
that's right. Winter Soldier.
Katie would actually probably be mad at me about that as well. Yeah, it's, Winter Soldier. You nailed it, man.
Another bad joke.
And you know what? That's what a third game gets us, maybe. A couple of bad jokes at the very beginning. While we let the teams ramp up, get into the seriousness of this matter. And that's a good question for you. You know, when I see Thor, and admittedly, I didn't expect this when we saw Kwang. I don't think it got you a little by surprise. Although right now, it is Zen who has to play carefully. Good dash. Lucky he's Jing. He's able to dash away while up in the air there. But a very, very, very cautious, careful, almost disastrous moment for the Titans. I was going to ask about the junglers. It feels like Dame is on a pick that can get active really early on. Same thing for WorstTurttle. But do you feel like one of them, at least pre-level 5, while we still have it, has an advantage over the other?
Yeah. Dame bought Bluestone, so it's him.
So it's him.
So it's him 100%. The jungle, really good, awesome upgrades in the late game, especially Protector of the Jungle. If you think the game's going to go hyper late, like 40-some-odd minutes, long dances around the Fire Giant, I actually am a massive fan of Seer of the Jungle, but otherwise, I think we're looking at Protector for WorstTurttle. Dame, on the other hand, with the Bluestone this early means that he should have an advantage in DPS, should he choose to get involved. Has some decent targets as well. Blink as opposed to beads from WorstTurttle means Dame doesn't necessarily need to initiate with his ultimate, especially if ganks are going to be headed towards the duo lane. I'd be waiting for the dash from Warchi before I go up into the air. Small skirmish. Nets the buff, I believe, for the Tartarus Titans there. Valhalla Valkyries had the opportunity to pick it up. Do not, so you got to believe it is the Tartarus Titans, who barely went out on that small skirmish. But I really think it is a lot of parity between these two junglers. The conversation on the desk of who's going to dunk first and is there an advantage one way or the other, you definitely want to dunk second if you're Thor. Every single time. You could dunk first as Thor and just immediately go into Berserker's Barrage and have that knock-up immunity for the Through the Cosmos, but dunking second just feels so much better every single time for both gods, really. So play reactive if you're in the jungle.
We'll see what he can do here. Up in the sky, dunking down off the mark.
Where's the other one?
There's going to be the
There
ult.
he is.
Here comes the second dunk, and it finds 3, but it's just a little late. Zin goes down. First blood goes over to Rottwen, but they return with at least 1 kill, maybe 2 here. Lurking in the waters, slows the Athena down. Dame, not a lot of mana to work with. Might need a little more to go. There's a good pluck right into the waiting arms. The Ratatoskr, a couple autos. Throw out one ability. Double kill for the jungler on the Titans.
Told ya, gotta be dunking second. That's me. That's me. I'm dunking second every single time. No, that is a clean play by Dame. Finds the 3-man knock-up, the double stun immediately afterward. Unfortunately for Zen, comes too little too late to keep him alive, but I'm sure he'll be willing to forgive him for the double kill happening in his lane. First blood bounty as well, following on to Rottwen. That's ideal. If anybody's gotta get a kill for the Valhalla Valkyries, and the Tartarus Titans were allowed to make the choice, you give it over to the support. With that said, though, that bounty has led him to a very early Prophetic Cloak pickup. Getting those stacks online, building up that tankiness, important. Maybe you get to evolve that item a little bit sooner rather than later as well. Another bit of non-standard itemization here is the Chalice pickup for Rottwen early in this game. That is, that is a massive investment. It'll save you a lot of gold over the next 20, 25, 30 minutes, but for now, has slowed down a bit of that defense. Maybe that's the byproduct. If your support's getting first blood, I can't come up with a bad reason. You know, that seems pretty decent.
Got to get something for you. If you have that money to spend it somewhere. I personally, and the only reason I don't think anything about the Chalice is because I'm really bad at using my shard still, despite it being, 10-2 now. And so I just go for the Vision Shard because that way if I forget about it, it's not as big of a detriment. But I still put those wards out there, and that's what matters. Meanwhile, Rottwen, like you said, going to be running the vision control. That was actually one of the big things in a crucial moment, I would say. The Valkyries looking to start a fight specifically around the Fury. You had called it out that the Titans had pit vision, but pretty much everything else in the jungle might as well have just been true vision for the Valkyries. They had so many wards that were placed around the map, and they're already starting this game off with the same amount. You've got some deep around the purple buff. You've got some all around, but it's the Titans this time that are controlling it on left side. And that might be even more helpful for them. This is a couple of ult trades happening solo. Nothing too big has been happening with the junglers, Mifflin. Ult's back up. I have to imagine that solo lane was a huge, huge priority in game number 1. Maybe we start seeing some focus over there again.
Could be, but
is it worth it?
Those are 2 really miserable gods to gank as well. I mean, they're very safe side lanes for the Tartarus Titans, but NILLL, so long as cavalry charge is available, not exactly a fun target. Has knock-up immunity for the Through the Cosmos with the Talu Assault on Guan.
Yeah, never mind. I don't want to go over there
Yeah,
anymore.
if I'm Dame, I'm thinking to myself, I gotta hit the stun. That's the only way I'm starting this fight. Even then, best case, I'm getting a knock-up from delnyy, and he's going to tickle NILLL with like 60 damage auto attacks. Yeah, gank Warchi if you're Dame. If you're WorstTurttle, gank Dame or gank Nayhoo, I think. okay target in InMyZen, but Jingwei is so safe. It's not exactly the ideal place. Warchi should, once left alone on an island, be able to force out the airstrike at least once or twice. If that's the case, WorstTurttle can very easily make the decision to come over towards the duo lane. But otherwise, a rotation towards Zen with WorstTurttle initiating it is just forcing the ultimate, and from there hoping that you've got the chase down. And I wouldn't want to leave something up like that up to chance when you've got such an impactful cooldown this early in the game. You want to go somewhere where you know you'll find the value, and I think that's either onto the Rat or onto the Agni.
Well, Warchi pops the beads, tries to stick to Zen. Zen ults, and that should be enough.
Oh,
Hangs
he's
out in the
up.
fire, but up into the sky. I believe I might have just seen WorstTurttle hanging around.
He doesn't want to dunk into the tower.
Yeah,
No way.
Can't go that deep. Instead, falls back. And so that is going to be one ult down. Maybe get advantage to Ratatoskr if Dame can get over here fast enough.
Could be. Warchi, no access to his ultimate. WorstTurttle loses his as well. A good time to fight. Bluestone still finding some value at that. Look for WorstTurttle. Catch the hammer. Not quite in time. Should be able to still turn this one around. Still has access to the stun. WorstTurtle, let's drop low.
Dame trying to do what he can. Needs to get up
Yikes.
barely onto the tree. Jumps off Yggdrasil way deep in the jungle to make sure he can stay alive. Tries for a little bit. They do get the mid camp, so if you're looking at the neutral farm going in their favor, there's at least a small win. But it does cost them quite a bit in the process of getting aggressive.
Got the
Nice
dash.
Hunt. Catches Nayhoo out, like you said, in the dash. Unfortunately, I don't know that either of them were fully expecting it, and so not a lot of follow-up from TheRayShadow.
No, that's like hitting the lotto, you know. It's like, oh, nice, I got him. Whoops. WorstTurttle or TheRayShadow, you're not ready for this one. Nobody was. A good stun from Nayhoo, though, does prevent any form of follow-up coming his way. And at the worst case, Rottwen at least stacks up a bit more of that prophetic cloak. Just power spiking for now on both sides. Dame, Jotun's on that back, means he's got a good deal of CDR now. A lot of power stacked up already. WorstTurtle very close to finishing up his Hydra Star on the other side. Meanwhile, Soul Laner stacking defense. Book of Thaw slowly working up for both of them. Nayhoo, I believe, has finished upgrading his. Not much to fight over on map. You don't really feel confident in either team's ability to just run down the Gold Fury. If your second item crit, though, for InMyZen, I think then the Tartarus Titans can probably try and force a fight around gold. If you're grouped up as 4, Warchi doesn't have as easy a time at just closing gap and running at Zen. We'd seen that he'd be willing to do it regardless in Game 2. A couple of times, it was a kamikaze attack from Warchi, just trading his life for 90 to 80% of Zen's HP bar. A group up on the left-hand side might incentivize that style of play. But that's a discussion for about 3-4 minutes from now once we see what that item is for Zen. If he goes Tank Shred, we're not looking at a Gold Fury anytime soon.
Keep our eyes open. Keep our eyes locked on the carry. I was wondering if Dashboard, once he showed up over there, was going to get something done. Instead, it's Dame who's running away. Has ult, but can you channel it fast enough? Nope, the hammer's there. You got to think that one, you knew how that was going to end. And instead, ult doesn't get taken away, but his life does.
I'm telling you, dunks on a Rat are just going to get you value. The only answer I think Dame has to actually getting accosted in his own jungle by WorstTurtle is you have to reaction ultimate the ultimate. Until you have beads at least.
Yeah.
Get onto the tree immediately. You're not taking the stun. WorstTurtle won't have time to go for the full combo. If you allow him to connect and the combo chases out, I don't think Rat can really escape that situation. The stun would have helped out a good deal. Maybe would have allowed him to get the blink, but Bluestone doing dot damage, you throw out the stun behind you, keeps you in combat, can't use the blink. So Dame essentially was nearly in a checkmate situation there.
No way out, no way in, no way to survive.
One way back to base, though. One-way ticket to base.
And admittedly, you know, I wasn't watching his items as closely as I could have. Could have bought something very important. Unfortunately, he's backing right now, so it maybe wasn't as important as it could have been. Hits level 12, so we'll maybe see a second relic. It's the beads you had asked for a little earlier in response to that exact play. And so it seems like Dame, burned fresh, knows exactly what he wants to deal with. I want to see more proactive play personally from the Titans. A lot from WorstTurtle lately, and he's going back up in the air. Might be able to catch Nayhoo off guard. Or maybe it's just going to be Dashboard. Thor Hasn't come down just yet. Comes in a little shy. Nayhoo's low.
Wild.
Man, the burst is just there. The Valkyries get done what they need to. Now the chase is on Zen.
Gotta get
Trying to
Warchi.
get something done. Goes in the ult. They're able to turn it 1-for-1. Unfortunately, Dame is still around, and that makes it very easy. You could dive a tower if you were the Valkyries, go for one more kill, but why bother? There's a Fury that's worth way more in the jungle, and unprotected as of right now. Lurking in the waters isn't there. Dashboard has a pluck, a dream, and maybe a little bit of a knock up here. Not going to go for it. Instead, it's just playing bully. The Valkyries get themselves a gold Fury early on, and they set themselves off to a good lead.
Yeah, the Valkyries playing very well around these gold Fury timers. This is 2 games in a row now where it's a rotation from NILLL, just outpacing delnyy to get to that objective. It's TP timers. NILLL TP'd in, delnyy TP'd to lane. Misses out on the opportunity to stick around. Was at least able to push a couple waves into that tower. So she does have a direct lead against his opponent, but as far as team presence goes, I think worth it for NILLL. Making sure that when you grab the objective, remove the possibility for the Tartarus Titans to do the exact same thing. And you can reset yourselves back to neutral, even potentially start looking at the Pyromancer. And with Zen going down the crit tree, that was a great time for the Valhalla Valkyries to take the gold Fury. That was right when the Tartarus Titans hit a power spike that would have allowed them to look towards the neutral objectives themselves. So clean play from the Valhalla Valkyries to remove that opportunity. But with all that said, kill allocation could use some work. I'm seeing 3 kills on Rottwen.
Oh, wow. Wait, yeah.
And that is not exactly ideal. It was a double kill for Rottwen in the previous engagement. He's tanky. He's nearly unkillable. He's got double relic, and he'll upgrade the second one pretty soon. But give it to WorstTurttle, and all of a sudden he's got a crusher online. And he's shutting down the back line. Or had TheRayShadow grabbed any of these kills. Soul Gem's already done it. It would have been a much better suited power spike there. It's up to Rottwen now to make use of it, to justify that gold lead that he's acquired for himself. I want to see him frontlining. I want to see him starting up these fights consistently.
I don't know. Sometimes you look Rottwen in the eye, and you see the face of a cold-blooded killer staring back at you, which is actually the exact opposite. The dude is incredibly smiley, incredibly nice, not at all a stone-cold persona. But maybe in game it matters, and that's what matters right here. Dashboard's locked off the wall, going to dissipate, allow the Sobek to get on out of there. It's a Pyromancer startup for the Valkyries. They're playing the neutral objective. That's what was successful for them in Game 2. And so far it has been a lot of WorstTurtle's prioritization and pressure that has handed it to them. 1-0-2 this time around. Like you said, the kills might be going somewhere else. Was still undying for the Thor. While they don't get that Pyromancer they tried starting up, the pressure's still there.
The amount of times I've seen Dashboard just walk up on his own towards the objective has been ridiculous, and he's been successful every time. Zen up to the air, survives.
Well, for now, survives. Might see what he can do. WorstTurtle comes crashing down. Warchi goes teleporting in. They chase him down. Zen's caught in the wrong neighborhood. Dame dashes away. Wall going to be short. They have enough gap close here to potentially catch this Ratatoskr. Speed buff's going. Stun not going to connect. And there are so many hunting for you. Wall is there. You need a little bit more, though. Dame might just walk out of this one. Dashboard doing a lot to help his team. A little bit of peel goes a long way. Uses the lurking in the water. Has to play this carefully. Might end up losing his life. Taunt's going to be good. There's NILLL diving the tower. Wants a little bit more. They're going in. Catches the dash, but no, the team is not there for the follow-up. Instead, they're distracted. delnyy deep in the back line looking for TheRayShadow. Surrounded by 4. The stun is good onto Rottwen. What a fight, Mifflin. That just goes all over the place. WorstTurtle goes a Dame. It's still here and almost dead. Dashboard turns around, goes back in.
Watch for Warchi.
Dies, but they kill off WorstTurtle. So far worthwhile. Can they get a little more? Nayhoo's low. Nayhoo's gone. TheRayShadow 1 hit away, but they're not able to get it. Instead, they've lost 3. It looks like it's going to be 4 if delnyy cannot get out of here. All for WorstTurtle. A trade very much worthwhile for the Valkyries.
WorstTurtle goes in with 30% HP, says, I got beads and agates. It's not a problem. He was wrong. It was a problem from him. Great for the rest of the Valhalla Valkyries, though. Essentially baiting the entirety of the Tartarus Titans into funneling towards the center of the map. Rottwen finds multi-man taunts. TheRayShadow is allowed to free cast because everybody's staring at WorstTurtle. Even Zen dashes in aggressively there, just trying to finish off one of those kills. Does at least get the assist, so an extra stack onto his rage, but not an ideal situation. Pyromancer on the fallback, though. Very smart. Dropped low and secured by the Tartarus Titans. Narrowly, but do you live?
Well, Dame, up into the ult. just in time, NILLL was looking for a little more. And they're going to be able to find it. And so, Pyromancer for 3-for-1 trade? I don't know. It's one of those weird math things that you have to do sometimes to try and figure it out. If the Fury goes this way of the Valkyries, I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably just straight up in favor of them.
I always cheat. I just look at the graphs or at the top of the screen. That's how I figure out when things are worth. And the chart went even further in favor of the Valkyries, so I'll call it a value trade for them.
Pretty heavily.
As well. Could swing it even further, but we've seen them play very defensively from here. Realizing now that delny's headed back to base, maybe the Valhalla Valkyries will feel confident enough to look towards the objective. Could be a bit of a bait, though. All delnyy needs to do is upgrade that teleport, and he'll get there very quickly. Actually hasn't gone back to base. He's sticking around. Has an HP shield in the ult. He's healthier than he appears.
Might be able to get something done here. Dashboard has been the king of at least stopping objectives so far. Gold Fury, or Oni Fury this time around, halfway down. NILLL taking a lot of damage, so has Zen. Crashing into the backline immediately onto Nayhoo, though. It's the Valkyries, and they find exactly what they want. The 2 carries, the 2 backliners for the Titans gone, but a taunt finds a little more.
Yikes.
They pull in 2, and they kill them all off. It's a full-on deicide. 19 minutes in, the Titans are rushing straight to the FG.
The Valhalla Valkyries, they have woke up in this set. The team fight has just been concise from them. Every single time Nayhoo shows up on the map, the Valhalla Valkyries jump on him as 5.
Yeah.
Warchi's TPing in. Rottwen's on the Defender of Olympus. WorstTurtle's hovering in the air, preying on his downfall. And NILLL's already on Epona, running him down. It just is impossible for Nayhoo to survive these engagements. And every single time, there is no return damage. There's no way for the Tartarus Titans to optimize on 5 members of the Valhalla Valkyries just dogpiling one guy, because the engagement's so split for them every single time. It's, well, Dashboard's in the front trying to slow them down. delny's doing the same. Dame's hovering, looking for a blink opportunity. Zen is really worried that he's the one that's going to get dove. So these situations start to line up, and the Valhalla Valkyries, they don't have those concerns. There's no layers of entropy in their thought process. It's, I see guy, I want guy dead, let's close gap and do it. And they're executing on it very, very well. And even if the fight started around the Gold Fury, it was never about the Gold Fury, not if the fight goes that cleanly. Fire Giant now on all 5 members of the Valhalla Valkyries. And they'll return to the scene of the crime, double dip a little bit, and finally grab that Fury that it all started for.
You want to talk about advantages as well. 5,000 gold plus the 5 Fire Giants you just mentioned, which a while ago, I'm curious if your math is still the same in year 10. That a Fire Giant was equitable to, let's say, 10k gold in terms of a lead.
Until someone tells me otherwise. Until Flare Boots adding me on Twitter, I'll be calling it about a 10k.
And you have to see what it can really result for you here. 6 towers were still standing on both sides. Finally starting to get knocked down. 1 tier 1 in right that the Titans are able to take away. And tier 1 in left is the answer back from the Valkyries. Surprised to see them, I guess, maybe so scattered to the winds right now, not giving a really, I would say, the old college try to just try and get this tier 2. Might be a regroup, figure out where they want to go, pull the Titans into an awkward position, then start knocking down the towers.
I mean, you've got time to play with, or potentially no time if Dame's able to take this 1v1. WorstTurttle clears the wave and survives another clean bait from the Thor with the help of his allies. Dame tries to go for the hero play, nearly successful, but with the Aegis available, with all that peel available, all it really does is cost him his life.
Catches him in a bad spot, and that might be the case for a few of these. Nayhoo has to play carefully. A lot of good damage onto Warchi. Warchi's going to teleport out of here. Stays alive for now. Tier 2 in mid. It's been the spot of aggression for the Valkyries. It's already half health. They're going to start to get aggressive. 2-man taunt immediately from Rottwen. They're looking for some damage. They're finding it onto Dashboard. Zen tries to get away. NILLL is diving the Phoenix. They don't even care about the tier 2. They're looking for kills, and they find 2 of them easily. Zen barely gets out of there now. You've got Dame getting aggressive, and it's not working out well for him. Zen goes away. Dame has to run, tail between his legs, back to the fountain. delnyy is going to get taken down. Just another box on the checklist for the Valkyries. Damn near a deicide, but it's a tier 2, and it should be a Phoenix.
Dame's got nothing left in the tank. He's got no way to fight into this. No blink, no ultimate, no chance. If he's hit by Rottwen on this taunt, should just lose his life. Dart gets him out of there. The Valhalla Valkyries, they get much more than they had expected to take. It was only really a tier 2 push at the beginning of the day. We ended with a Phoenix in the pocket and 4 kills added on. A massive gold swing for a team that was already succeeding massively. The Valhalla Valkyries, this is now in throw territory. This is like a 99%er. The Tartarus Titans, it's going to take individual hero plays, Fire Giant steals, a couple of wipes. It's going to be a while till they're able to fight on even footing.
Yeah, a lot you got to step up to do. Oh, man, there's 5 towers still standing for the Valkyries as well on top of all that.
5
like you
gold
said.
deposits to go collect from. You
Exactly.
mean.
If you're
That's
the Titans right here, what's your focus? Your focus is Fire Giant, hero plays, and money.
I love money.
You know what? Think about it this way. You win this tournament, you get a whole lot of it, right? A whole year of a career, guaranteed salary that you're going to have, plus potential bonuses, essentially, if you win
Call it like
tournaments.
$250,000 for the team.
You could, yeah, I mean, really, really change a lot of it. Plus, a whole new place to live. A lot of fun things that can happen here. That's what the Titans are trying to fight for right now. They are down 14 kills. 23 minutes in, they are down 11,000 gold. And they do not want to be the first ones eliminated from this tournament. Fire Giant started up by the Valkyries on one side, Dame getting bullied by NILLL on the other. It does not seem like the Titans are going to have an answer for this one. It is all going to be base defense, Mifflin. We saw how the last one went, so they have to change something up. Was it grouping? What was it? Was it positioning? Was it because it was around the tier 2? Like, what is it that falls apart around that mid-fight? And how do they stop that from happening again?
It's a lot of things. It was the state of the game going into the fight. They weren't exactly favored then. It was Nayhoo getting caught first. He was essentially front line there because he's getting dove. It's a whole lot of things that line up. It's delnyy getting poked at 50% before the fight even starts. And he still has no help, by the way.
Then some, and then some. Finally,
Okay,
they get
there it
Warchi,
is.
so there's an opening. One Fire Giant off the board. And that is going to help control a little bit more.
How did Warchi get so far into the back line there?
Same way delnyy did. He just
Same way
walked
delnyy
there.
did, but one of them's a tank, right? All right, understood.
And unfortunately, for the Valkyries, they've lost one. Still should have this tier 2. And Mifflin, you're talking about a pretty massive gold lead at this point to try and overcome. But a successful kill onto one of the carries. And maybe a small turnaround. And when I say small, I mean small for the Titans to at least hang their hat on.
Anything feels good right now. You're trying to recruit your friend Momentum, to get onto your side here. And Tartarus Titans just haven't got any bit of it over the last 25 minutes. Valhalla Valkyries, on the other hand, they're playing with a hot hand. Do just about no wrong on map. Besides Warchi going in 1 versus 4. That's about the only wrong they could do, but besides that, I think they're very confident still in their ability to push, even with Fire Giant only on the 4 members. Warchi wasn't exactly a key component of the siege here either. Playing a non-traditional hunter, not having ranged auto attacks means that it's pretty difficult for him to apply his damage to structures regardless. It's more so there for the PvP, and so far has done a very good job of it. 15 effective kills of the 18 that the Valkyries have got for themselves. With Runic Bomb still available, I'd like to see the Valkyries move in towards the Phoenix here on this push.
They're getting aggressive. Pulled delnyy with a taunt. Dame is deep in the jungle, makes it up to the tree. So should be safe, but loses that ult engage, going to be disappearing. Mid Phoenix is about to respawn. Luckily for WorstTurttle, fire minions exist and are being pushed. Tier 2 and mid should be a pretty easy pickup. Assuming anybody wants to look at it. There they go. They're going to take it down. So it's a small reprieve for the Titans' Phoenix line. The line of scrimmage itself has been shoved right up against the base. 2-man taunt immediately. Dashboard gets a pluck for some peel. Takes a lot of poke in the process, though. That's going to be Warchi going deep. Warchi, last time it didn't work out well, but they got the kill now, and that's what they need. Nayhoo under pressure. Makes it back to the Titan. No, it doesn't make it to the fountain. Warchi, with a little bit of a bleed, does exactly what they need. Gets another kill and continues the chase down. Dame taken out. The assassin from the duo lane doing everything he can right now. delnyy just trying to find some sort of bounce back. The Titan can't be damaged just yet. Mid Phoenix gone. 5 Valkyries ready to walk in. Minions there, and they've got the damage to do so. Zen and delnyy trying to make the hero plays, trying to stay alive in the tournament. It's delnyy in the back line looking for something. The stun is good. The damage
50%.
just is not there. The Titan, it's gonna go down here, and the Valkyries move on.
Talk about a bounce-back performance from the Valhalla Valkyries. It was an emphatic, one-sided Game 1 favoring the Tartarus Titans, and since then they have not been able to find the exact same footing. They have not been able to reprise that performance. Good stuff. I mean, that is just a completely wild turn of events. Warchi refusing to play the ranged carries, these unorthodox junglers coming out, the Kwong making an appearance here in Season 10. Still, though, at the end of the day, it was team play that won Game 3. One team grouped up as 5, and they did it often, and it worked out often. The other scattered to the wind, trying to make individual plays, got caught out on their own.
A lot, I think, that the Titans needed to do, unfortunately didn't have the time, didn't have the money to do there. The Valkyries instead, from Game 1, huge turnaround into Game 2, into Game 3, keep themselves present, stay alive as of right now in the tournament. Unfortunately for the Titans, we say goodbye. For the rest of the teams, we still have not only one more elimination match that's going to be coming up, but a little trepidation now. If the Valkyries are looking towards tomorrow, they know they have to face it again, and then potentially again before they can truly qualify. A lot of Smite still to go through. I believe when we were looking at least for these teams, 5 straight sets you got to win against some very difficult teams. The Valkyries now have one in the books, so they're going to close it out. We're going to close it out and send it back to the desk to break this one down.
That's right. It's not easy to qualify into the Smite Pro League, but the Valhalla Valkyries take one step closer to that goal. They'll send the Tartarus Titans home. After back-to-back, maybe cleanest games we've seen from them so far. I mean, I guess by default they didn't win any yesterday, lose Game 1, and then suddenly start to build up some type of identity, Trelly. I mean, they're waiting until 11:59 p.m. on the Doomsday clock, but we got there. We found an identity. And the Valkyries able to win 2 straight.
Yeah, I want to give massive shout-outs to the team for just being able to make the change-up in their drafts, right? It started off with, okay, we're going to go with Assassins, but not really auto-attack based. I believe it was Nayhoo and
Camazotz, right?
This time around, they come out the gate with Agni. And I'm just like, this team is still not quite, they're not quite getting it. WorstTurttle shows some shimmers of greatness, and then the final product that we saw last game and then this game as well. They finally figured out exactly how they want to play the meta. Warchi on the set looked very strong. The Kwong looked very strong, and this time around, it just seemed like the team really was firing on all cylinders. They finally really came into their own identity.
They absolutely did. And I think, there's a lot of fan support behind the Valhalla Valkyries at this event. And I'm sure those fans thrilled with the way that Game 3 goes here. And that, that's the most intense set of Smite we've gotten so far this year. Granted, it's a small sample size, but this is an elimination match. SPL hopes for these 2 teams on the line. Can't make any mistakes. And this game actually started off very, very well for Dame. It felt like there were Ratatoskr moments where I thought it was going to start taking things over. Right around that mid-game point, though, Trelly, is a fantastic team fight from the Valkyries. Deicide, I think Myth worded it well. You're in you have to throw this lead to lose type territory.
Yep.
And it just got strong. And so now you're starting to talk about the ebbs and flows of a tournament for a team. Won a couple of games. You've seemingly figured out a bit of an identity. It's a threatening team to go up against.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that now they've got a little bit of eyes on them, now that they were able to take their first victory here, they're going to need a little bit more than one pick for Warchi to fall back on, right? I think just the set, if anyone watching that game says, hey, the Valks don't look like a team if Warchi's not on set, let's ban set. They're going to need a backup. I'm sure they know that. I assume VOD review is here to come. They're going to sleep on it, whatever that may be. But I'm very impressed with what I saw after game number 1. The changes they made, they look like a much more solid unit.
And I think the Valks did a really nice job in back-to-back games. Think about one of the big win conditions for the Titans. It's that duo lane. Zen, specifically on AD carry, has had such great performances in the past, and I think the Valkyries in back-to-back games, Game 2 and Game 3, shut down Zen. Made a little noise at the end of Game 2, did Zen. Crickets here at Game 3. The Valkyries are able to win 2 games straight. Their lives alive, or tournament lives alive, still around, something like that. Titans, they're headed home at the hands of the Valhalla Valkyries, and it's Rottwen standing by with Gormizer for the post-game interview.
Well, that's right. I got the man himself standing over here. I do have to ask immediately because that set goes 3. And the last 2 looks a little cleaner for you guys, but Game 1 wasn't there as much. What do you change between the games and what goes wrong at the beginning?
We don't know the idea. Do we want to play for win the game? We got a different idea about the meta, I think. So, yeah, I mean, just yesterday we lost so bad, so we changed about the idea. We thought a different stuff on the first game, and yeah, we changed for the second. I think the set pick was crazy good.
Yeah, it definitely ended up changing things. I was talking to you about some of the plays that you had made throughout that, especially in the Athena, but like having the set back up, as well as being able to pick something. The Agni was a weird choice. At least it seemed kind of confusing from our perspective. Has that changed to the Assassin, at least in the duo lane, as well as having the front line that comes with it? Was that really the true impact?
I'm pretty sure we're going to play more mages this tournament. But yeah, I mean, it's just a different meta. We are so confident on what we're doing, and we are going to win for sure. Don't worry.
So you've got quite a few more sets to get to where you want to go. How are you guys taking this? One day at a time? You focused on the full thing? And what kind of things do you need to do to review?
For winning, just talking each other. I mean, we got Warchi, who have been playing Smite for so many years. Same with me, same with the jungle. So yeah, we are confident. We just need to talk and figure out what do we need to improve.
Well, absolutely. Congrats on the win, man. Good luck in the future of the tournament. We'll send it back to the desk.
Always love hearing from Goatwin, especially after a really good set. I love there were some great emoji walls in Game 2 that set up for Discordia ults. Good team fighting. And I think it's so important when it feels like your team is still trying to figure out their exact grasp on the meta. Being able to lean back on a great initiator and a great leader that apparently Warchi and Rottwen have been for this team. It's a massive advantage. And the Valhalla Valkyries, they continue on throughout the Smite Pro League promotional tournament. They have got 1, 2, 3, 4 more sets to play in order to qualify into the SPL. Not only play,
for them.
but win.
That's what Rottwen said. He said, "We will win. Don't worry."
That's right. We'll win. Don't worry. Well, when you got Rottwen on the squad, feeling that way, you got to put all your faith there. So stage is set now. Xibalba Storm, Valhalla Valkyries. That'll be another elimination match tomorrow. Needless to say, every matchup that's happening in the lower side of this bracket will be an elimination match. And then how about the weight of the bottom right-hand matchup? We'll get there on Sunday. That's an elimination match, or you're going to the SPL match. I can't wait to get there. But first, we got some matches in the upper bracket to go through. Wargs, Scorpions, Gladiators, Hounds. I think that was in no specific order our top 4 going into this event, and they're all still alive in the upper bracket. And there will be a qualifier match, of course, through the winner's bracket as well. One final matchup, though, in the loser's bracket in order to advance to the next stage, and that is the Sages up against the Wardens. And so, Trelly, we've got 2 teams in our final match of the day, Sages and Wardens. A couple teams that made some noise in their individual games, but I don't think have lived up to their own set potential just yet.
Well, I think there's a little bit of a benefit to, starting off early in day number 1, finding some success, losing, and then just getting to sit back and watch. I imagine we're going to see completely different versions of both of those teams here later on because they've got to actually sit back and learn the meta a little bit more.
Want to cast it?
If you want.
Sure, we can cast it.
Okay.
Sages versus Wardens in the Smite Pro League promotional tournament coming up next.